won the victory and is the incumbent president. He has taken it again, and he's the president-elect for the next 4 years.
Yes, and of course, it's an interactive show, so wherever you're watching us from, we do want to hear from you. Use the hashtag The Election Bureau, the hashtag GHElections, and our WhatsApp line is 0550585832. My name is Jifa Ekia.
And I'm David Kweku Sechi. The Election Bureau, I mean, we have been doing this back to back, you know, throughout the night, throughout the day. And finally, we are at this point here, and it's time for reflection. Looking back, of course, the president gave his victory speech, and so we're going to bring that to you at a point very soon. But then the opposition also had a presser last night, and they are saying that they don't accept the declaration of the results by the EC. Well, this is where we find ourselves now. The democracy that we've been practicing has been tested, you know, quite robustly. You know, it's been we've gone through that process where, first of all, will we have peaceful elections? Will we have a smooth process? And I think that for me, I want to just first of all start out by commending the EC, first of all, for conducting. Pretty much, I think I would side with Nana Akufo-Addo on this one when she says that this is probably the best that we've seen in this republic. Of course, we don't have the benefit of many years ago what it looked like, but at least this republic, we know what the experiences have been like, and this is probably one of the best. It was very peaceful, very smooth. First of all, you know the long queues that we used to experience. I don't know if you saw the long queues of, 2000, 2004, 2008, and so on. We didn't have any of those. You know, people didn't spend a long time trying to vote. You know, at least my experience was, I don't think I'd spend more than maybe 2.5 to 3 minutes. Once I started. It was once I go to the first place to check my name. Literally, by the time I was walking away, it was about less than 3 minutes later.
Wow.
I was done, you know. And so the process was definitely very smooth. COVID protocols were, at least at the station that I voted at, and a few others that I saw, COVID protocols were being maintained quite strictly, you know, which was I was really, really impressed by. And so on. In fact, as a place, they said if you don't have any mask, you can't vote. It's as simple as that, you know. So at least at my station where I went to, that was my center that I went to. That was the experience that I had. So it's been for me, it's been very good. Also, I would like to commend the security services, you know, because at every point in time that we watched that, we saw the footage at Ododo, right? That could have gone any number of ways, but they were calm under pressure, you know, and the people were shoving and pushing and complaining and fussing, but they were very calm, and they helped to calm the crowds as well. I saw a similar situation at the EC last night, you know, teeming crowds of people, you know, a lot of them from the
NDC.
The NDC side, and the military were there, the police were there, and they just kept very calm and cool. I saw a lady displaying on the road, you know, and they said, look, there's a barricade, you can't cross and come over to this side. But she decided that she was going to go cross over to that side. Wow. And I think it was more of a bravado move to try and see if she could provoke the security man. The person who stopped her got calls from his colleagues behind and said, don't even touch her. Just leave her, let her do her thing. Oh, she rolled on the road and, you know, all of that.
I think we should go through the numbers because we officially have our president, and Nana Akufo-Addo won by 6,730,403 votes. That's about 51.59%. Let me correct that. 6,730,413 votes. And of course, John Dramani Mahama, the flag bearer for the NDC, got 6,214,000 889 votes. He got 47.37%. Now, Goom, Christian Kwabena Andrews, got 105,565 votes. So that's 0.85%. Now, David, if you look at 2016's numbers, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo won by 53.85%, and Mahama got 44.40%. There was a wide gap in 2016. And remember, in 2016, NPP, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, that was his first time attempting to serve Ghana as president, promised one village, one dam, promised one district, one factory, free SHS. We're going to go from taxation to production. You know, a lot of businesses shut down as a result of the Doomsday era. People struggled to survive because cost of production was so high. So there was this whole mood of there's a change coming. He comes into power for 4 years. Some might say he delivered on the free SHS. We can show a few factories that prove that we have one district, one factory. We see the dams, we see the ambulances. One might rightly assume that the gap would have even been wider this time around, but it's so close. And that says a lot about how people probably felt about the MPP's delivery, as well as the potential for the NDC to come back. It was very, very, very close.
Well, I mean, if you look at the percentage points, yes. If you so what's the percentage point difference? The first 2016 was 53 versus 44, right? So you're looking at a difference of about 9 percentage points, right? Then this time round is 47 versus 51. Okay, so you also, or let's say you can run it up to 52. So you're looking at roughly about 4, a little bit over 4 percentage points difference. So the difference has shrunk, right? Now, here's what I think. I'm looking at it and I'm saying that there's quite a number of people who are very happy with the president. But there's also a lot of people who are protesting and saying that we are not so impressed, not because of what you've done, but probably what you've not done. Okay, so if you notice that there was a lot of hue and cry from the opposition and the minority parliament about the corruption and all those things, but we'll delve into those conversations, a bit later as the show goes on.
Yesterday, the president delivered his victory speech from his residence in Nima, so let's take a look at that. Oh, my apologies. Our colleague Frema Dunyame was there, so let's hear from Frema.
All right, so you are still live on the Election Bureau. So the Electoral Commission has announced the final results of the 2020 presidential elections. And now, as announced by the EC, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has been re-elected the president for the next 2020. Now, I am currently at the NPP headquarters at the Salam Down, and this is the mood that have brought the elephant out. And there's huge jubilation going on at the NPP headquarters. Barely 30 minutes after the declaration of the 2020 presidential elections. So this is the scenes at the NPP headquarters. Massive, massive, massive jubilation going on now. That is the elephant being carried out. Hello, Etasai. Hello, Eddie, how do you feel now?
I feel excited. We feel so much excited. Nana has won again and won. He deserves it. Nana is over 50.
Nana, why are you there? Nana, you are the next time, NPP. All right, so we are getting closer. There's huge jubilation going on at the NPP headquarters. Massive, massive jubilation going on right now. So this is the scenes at the NPP headquarters right now. Hello, at the time.
Hello. What's up? When we come 10 times, we beat him 10 times. The youth of this Ghana, the youth of Ghana, we are free.
All right. So I can see, hey Jerry, I can see Jerry all over there. Yeah. You can hear them, supporters of the New Patriotic Party, jubilating with the NDC campaign songs. This is the mood at the NPP headquarters. Massive jubilation going on. This is the news they have been waiting for. And so this is the scenes at the NPP headquarters. Huge jubilation going on. Interestingly, they are dancing to the campaign song of the NPP, of the NDC.
Far more to do more.
Did you know Nana will win?
I knew from the Monday when we had tabulated on our own score and we won by about 51%. We knew we were going to win and we have won.
All right, congratulations.
We are doing it more. It is a good time to the Ghana.
All right, so what do you want to say?
Far more to do more. We didn't need a president who thinks Ghana is for remedial crisis. But far more to do more. We want to continue the digitalization. Far more to do more. We thank Ghana for voting for far more to do more. Thank you.
Congratulations. So this is the scenes at the NPP headquarters. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has been announced as the president-elect for 2020 general elections. So this is what is going on right now. Supporters of the NPP are extremely jubilant because they have been successful with the 2020 general elections. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Did you know Nana was going to win?
I know definitely. Thank you.
Right. So this is what is happening here at the NPP headquarters in Asylum Down. Massive jubilation by the supporters of the New Patriotic Party with the announcement of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo as president-elect in the 2020 general elections. Massive jubilation ongoing right now. You can see in your shots how people are jubilating. This is the news they were expecting. According to the NPP, they knew their candidate was going to win right from Monday per their tabulation. And true to their words, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has been announced as the president-elect. This is the Election Bureau on Citi TV. Right, so you saw there, huge jubilation going on at the headquarters of the NPP. Cities flying in the skies. It doesn't look like people are going to sleep tonight. That is what they've been waiting for. And they have had what they want.
We are still going to run the country 20 good years. We are still going to run the country 20 good years. So everybody follow us. Stephen, 4 more.
In our time, we didn't get the chance Nana Akufo-Addo give us. So we thank God. Now we are going to see what Nana Akufo-Addo is going to do for Ghanaians. He told us when God will and he come back on power, if you have a Ghana card, you can move forward, you can rent room. We believe his politics, so we know he can do. That's why God has blessed his blessings. So thank you for him. Grateful to him.
Okay. All right. Loyal ladies, at the side. Move feel this side. Move Alright, so this is the street right in front of the NPP headquarters. Huge jubilation going on here. Now you can see the mood. People are not going to sleep tonight. It doesn't look like they are going to sleep tonight. And that is what is happening right now at the NPP headquarters. Massive jubilation going on. Right, so let's go inside and see if there's any action going on right now inside the NPP headquarters. Yeah, there's jubilation everywhere. People are indeed excited. It's such a welcoming news for them.
So that was from the NPP headquarters last night. And as you can see, the supporters of the NPP were excited.
Yeah.
And some of them had been saying since Monday that they think NPP would win. But of course, everyone thinks their party would win. But yesterday, Madam Jean Mensah delivered the verdict. And Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has the chance to serve us for the next 4 years.
Yeah, and I'm just praying that, you know, he improves even more so what he was able to do. He improves on whatever he was able to do in the previous phases. But let's take a look at some more actions and activities, celebrations around the country.
Yeah, thanks so much. This is Citi TV, Citi FM. Thank you very much. You are here, you are part of the crowd, you're jubilating. What is really going through your mind?
Fantastic. In fact, today is one of the most happiest days in our life. In the history of Ghana, there has been a change for Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to continue. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who is now the president-elect, has a lot of programs and projects for the people of Ghana, especially the youth. One, he is saying that he is promoting education in Ghana, so the youth are standing for free education. Now, Nana Addo has a program. He's saying that anybody who wants to go into the tertiary institution will have a loan or be given a scholarship. We want education for our people, infrastructure-wise. Nana is doing one district, one factory, one village, one dam. We support Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo for all his projects and all his programs. So today, we stand here in the name of the Almighty God to thank him for a successful victory and the most successful election in Ghana.
Now, looking at the way it got so clean, that's the contest. What was going through your mind at the time? You felt that, well, your party supported perhaps was losing. What went through your mind? How was the feeling like?
Well, indeed. We were somehow not comfortable with the vote that we were getting. Especially, we were expecting that we would get a landslide victory. But along the line, we realized that victory is for Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. So one victory is for Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and for the MPP. Nothing is interesting to us than the victory. So all that we were looking for is a victory. And now victory has come to the people of Ghana and the MPP.
All right, so let's look at the situation, and we're still trying to pick more reactions from a lot of people here. All right, so what is also going on with you?
That's something to say. School for. By Papa Nadia Wine, certainly free education, Papa. Free education. I'm on playing now for school. First year the next game like Ebo. Chachana President Obama was Okada na obe legalize. Okada the other Okabasa don't motivate you to know. I'm a so coach Okada by free education. I'm on be a go school. Papa there.
So his mind is also about a free education policy, and he feels that, well, he has also had the opportunity of also attending senior high school. He says he's a senior high school student.
All right, so you can see lots and lots of jubilant celebrating masses out there. This is out there in the northeast of Ghana. You can see motorbikes riding, the fireworks exploding in the night sky over there. People are just very jubilant and very excited out there. So Jiva, as you can see, I mean, this is a mood that it's not just in Accra, it's not just in Kumasi, but far away up in the north of Ghana. You can see people out there also very, very jubilant and very excited.
Yes, and before this, we looked at Kumasi. So our correspondent there spoke to the people there, and you can see that they were so happy. And of course, we know that the Ashanti region is an NPP stronghold. Yeah. So it was no surprise to anyone that they would be so happy to see that the political party, the majority of them wanted to come back to power or retain power, ended up winning. The NDC was convinced, of course, that they were going to get more seats from the Ashanti region. Fortunately or unfortunately, they were just able to add on one, because we know that in 2016, the MPP took two seats from them, and they were hoping to at least get those back or do better than they did in 2016. Some may say they did well, but NPP still was able to get a very strong hold of that region. Now I'm going to break down what the results were for the different regions across the country for the 2020 presidential elections. So we'll start off with the Ahafo region. In the Ahafo region, we had 145,584 votes for the NPP. We also had 116,485 votes for the NDC. So when it comes to the Ahafo region, we know that the NPP took that for the presidential. Then you go to the Ashanti region. In the Ashanti region, of course, you already mentioned that that's an NPP stronghold. NPP got 1,795,824 votes. NDC did okay for a place that isn't really their stronghold. For the presidential, they got 653,149. And as you can see there in the Ashanti region, people are happy. They're excited, they are celebrating. Now we go on to the Bono region. In the Bono region for the presidential results, NPP got 292,604 votes. NDC came very close, even though NPP still won that region. NDC had 203,329 votes. Then we go to the Bono East region. In the Bono East region, NPP polled 153,341 votes. NDC did really well in Bono East. They got 213,694 votes. So Bono East, NDC took that seat, but in Bono region, NPP took it. Now we go to the Central region. In the Central region, NPP for presidential got 613,804 votes. NDC got 538,829 votes. So again, Central region went for the NPP for presidential, but we do know that the member of parliament for the Central region did not go back. There was a constituency we were talking about yesterday, a Kumfi member of parliament, obviously, didn't go back. So it looks like, you know, some of the policies there they're happy with. But let's make progress. In the Eastern region, 752,061 votes for the NPP. NDC got 470,999. So again, Eastern went to NPP. Some people predicted that, of course, Eastern region tends to swing to the NPP. So the Ashanti region and Eastern region were the two regions people were monitoring closely for the NPP. Then we come to the Greater Accra region, the region with the highest number of registered voters, but it's a very diverse region. So you don't know where it's going to swing, not very predictable. In the Greater Accra region, NPP got 1,250,267 votes. NDC polled 1,326,823 votes, which some might find surprising.
No, but okay, I'm not sure why anybody would find it surprising, though. I mean, you're looking at, we know that Greater Accra is one of the major swing areas, and because the numbers are so huge, in Greater Accra, if it swings and it swings well, whichever side it swings to is going to benefit massively. I think that a lot of what has happened in Accra, the Greater Accra region, is people protesting against things that they did not necessarily agree with in terms of the shortcomings of the government. So,
I found it surprising because when you look at the way NPP handled COVID-19 and the fact that Greater Accra region was affected most out of all the regions across the country, that alone I thought would help them make some progress within the Greater Accra region. We can talk about NAPCO, we can talk about free SHA, we can talk about all the other policies that they implemented within this region. But the fact that so many people survived coronavirus, we were worried because Greater Accra region was a hot spot. Globally, Ghana has been recognized as one of the countries that handled this pandemic so well. But then again, maybe people vote beyond your ability to handle a pandemic well.
You see, you're looking at COVID because of your understanding of COVID, right? A lot of people don't see COVID in the same way, right? A lot of people, if you look at
see that's an elitish.
Yes, if you look at the even the Jubilation that we were watching right now, who's wearing masks, right? There's no consciousness of let's stay safe. No, it's not in the psyche. So I don't think COVID was looked at in that way. Rather, there are things like men's gold. There are things like the perception of corruption. Those things would weigh far more on people's minds than...
I think the men's gold people are very small in the grand scheme of things when you compare the population of Greater Accra region and number of people who are affected by the virus.
You're looking at the people who made the investments. That's what you're looking at. But you have to think about the fact that it's a ripple effect. It's not just those who invested, but those who invested have families.
Yeah, but Men's Gold was not a legitimate bank. But okay, let's make progress. Let's go to the Northeast region. In the Northeast region, we have NPP at 122,742 votes. NDC got 112,306 votes. Then we go to the Northern region. In the Northern region, and remember the NPP said a lot about getting more seats in the Northern region, and some people were thinking, okay, that will reflect in the presidential. But for the presidential, MPP got 350,195 votes. NDC polled 410,399 votes. Still quite close, but of course NDC took that region. Then we go over to the OT region, one of the new regions that was created in this last administration. MPP got 103,865 votes. NDC got 181,021 votes. Savannah region, MPP got 80,605 votes. NDC got 144,244 votes. Then you go to the Upper East region. NPP got 170,340 votes. NDC got 335,502 votes. We make our way now to the Upper West region. In the Upper West region, NDC got 238,972 votes, while the NPP got 121,230 votes. Volta region, a region a lot of people say is a hotspot for the NDC. MPP got 100,481 votes, and the NDC stretched that region with 606,500 608 votes. And then in the Western region, MPP got 439,724 votes. NDC got 398,549 votes. Now, final region, the Western North region, NPP got 175,240 votes, and the NDC got 196,556 votes. So when you tally up all 16 regions, NPP pulled 6,667,907 votes, while the NDC got 6,147,365 votes. I think the NDC did a very good job. They campaigned, they were on the grassroots, but in the end, the people decided who they want to serve them for the next 4 years.
Absolutely. Yes, I'm sure all morning we're going to be breaking down the patterns, trends, the figures, and all of that. But yes, the president gave his address after the announcement by the EC. Let's take a look at that.
The president has just arrived. Shortly, he will be speaking to Ghanaians on the outcome of the elections.
Thank you, DJ, thank you. DJ, thank you. Just before His Excellency the President speaks to the nation, we'll request Reverend Professor Michael Quay to give us a quick Christian prayer. Shall we pray? Father in heaven, maker of heaven and earth, and all that is in it, may your name be glorified this day. We thank you for the light of today, and we thank you for this, our assembly, and for all that you have endowed upon us. May your holy name be praised. Father, we thank you for the person you have given us, President of the Republic, and also now President-elect. We thank you for his Vice President, Alhaji Mahamudu Bawumia. We thank you for their wives, the women you have given them to accompany them in accomplishing great things. May your holy name be praised. We thank you for all the faithful workers, all the faithful companions, all those who have struggled so hard to serve these men in the Flagstaff House, Jubilee House and beyond. That, Lord, this government will shine. May your name be praised. And mighty Father, at this moment, we thank you particularly for this sweet victory today. It's you who has done it, and we are praising your name for it. Lord, all their plans are in your hands. All the plans of the party, represented by the party chairman and secretary here right now, are in your hands. We pray that you glorify yourself in them, morning, noon, and night. And when all is said and done, may greater victories be achieved in the future. For we ask all these in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord, with thanksgiving. Amen. Fellow Ghanaians, a few minutes ago, what was known by me, and indeed by many, many Ghanaians, was announced by the returning officer of the presidential election, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Mrs. Jean Mensah. Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, together with Alhaji Mahamudu Bawumia, have been given 4 more years by the Ghanaian people to do more for them. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. In our system, it is the Electoral Commission that has the constitutional responsibility of declaring the will of the people in an election. Prior to this declaration by the EC chairperson, I received personal congratulatory messages from some of my fellow presidential candidates in the election 7 December. I expressed my appreciation to them and thanked them for helping to ensure that the race was largely a keen, exciting contest of ideas whose ultimate goal was the growth and development of Mother Ghana, as well as the improvement of the living standards of the Ghanaian people. Fellow Ghanaians, I must at the outset give thanks to Almighty God for his continued mercies and for granting my party, the New Patriotic Party, and I, this all-important win. It has been a hard-fought one, which has resulted in an incontestable result, and we are duly grateful for how far he has brought us. We were confident at the beginning of the campaign that the considerable amount of work we have done since coming into office in 2017 will secure for us 4 more years in office. And the declaration made by the returning officer has set us on that path. For that, I'm extremely grateful to you, fellow Ghanaians, for this victory. I am deeply humbled again by your show of confidence, and I do not take this lightly. There could be that tendency for an incumbent president who has just secured a 2nd term in office to, as it were, take it easy and relax because there's nothing more to lose or prove. I am of a different character. Just as I've been doing since January 2017, I give you my word that I will continue to work very hard to build the prosperous and progressive Ghana for which we yearn. The decisive margin of victory in this election constitutes for me an endorsement of the policies and programs initiated by my government and put before the electorate. And I'm determined to do all in my power to accomplish the task of this new mandate and thereby justify the confidence reposed in me. I assure you, fellow Ghanaians, that I'll do my best not to let you down. The period for campaigning is over, and the outcome of the election has been decided. The Ghanaian people, through the results, have made it loud and clear that the two parties, the MPP and NDC, must work together, especially in Parliament, for the good of the country. Now is the time for each and every one of us, irrespective of our political affiliation, to unite, join hands, stand shoulder to shoulder, and work hard to place Ghana where she deserves to be, a prosperous and dynamic member of the global community, making her own unique contribution to the growth of world civilization. My immediate task
will be to continue with the process of reversing the effects COVID-19 has had on our economy and on our lives, and put the nation on course for full economic recovery and development. Before the pandemic struck, Ghana in recent years was one of the fastest growing economies in the world. I give you my word, we will regain that reputation. Fellow Ghanaians, I say a big aiko to the chairperson, deputy chairpersons, commissioners, directors, returning officers, electoral officers, and the agents of our respective political parties for delivering one of the best elections, if not the best, ever witnessed in our history, which has won universal acclaim. The Electoral Commission, even in the midst of the pandemic, has done a yeoman's job, and we can only urge them on to continue along the path and achieve even greater strides in future. The orderly, commendable, and peaceful conduct of Ghanaians on election day is to be widely applauded. The high rates of adherence to COVID-19 protocols on the day ensure that the exercise passed off safely. To the security services who ensure the peace and safety of the process, Ghana will forever be in your debt. Your role has been invaluable in preserving law and order. And lastly, but by no means the last, the praise of the nation goes to the media for the extensive coverage provided before, during, and after the conduct of the polls. I also say a big thank you to the domestic and international election observer teams that have been in our country for the period of the election, for their concern. I condemn in no uncertain terms the isolated incidents of post-electoral violence in Ododo and Techiman that led to a few regrettable deaths. May their souls rest in peace. We must work to avoid the repetition of such events in future. I thank the national, regional, constituency, electoral area, and polling station executives, elders, and members of my party, the New Patriotic Party, and all the volunteer groups who canvass so effectively for us for their successful efforts. NPP supporters should understandably celebrate and jubilate, but desist from untoward acts. At the end of the day, despite holding different political views, we should all remember that we're all part of one family, one Ghanaian family, with a common overriding agenda, which is to oversee the growth and development of Mother Ghana. Let us continue to conduct ourselves with decorum and maintain the peace and stability of the nation, which is the envy of many around the world. To the Ghanaian people, I say that the work ahead is to advance further the peace, progress, and prosperity of our nation for all. And that is my solemn pledge to each one of you. The battle is the Lord's. May God bless us all in our homeland, Ghana, and make her great and strong. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And before Mr. President takes leave of us,
all right, so there you heard the president giving his victory speech, having won by a considerably, large amount of votes. The 51.59 result that he has, I think it's an endorsement. It's a 4-point lead, you know, ahead of the opposition flag bearer. It's an endorsement of the people of Ghana to say, listen, let's give you another try. Can you do better? You know, can you improve on what you did the last time? Some of the things we want more of the same, but a lot of the things we want improvements, you know. Ghanaians are not what they used to be. Gone are the days when T-shirts, you know, 20 Ghana cedis could convince people to, you know, take certain decisions with their thumb, you know. But this time around, I say that when I look at the numbers, I look at people, Ghanaians saying, we are approving of the president, but we are disapproving of his men. That's the feeling that I have when I look at the numbers. Look at how many seats in Parliament have swung away from the ruling party to the opposition, right? Now there's a balance in Parliament, almost at the point where the opposition are crying foul that, listen, we actually have majority in Parliament. Okay, so that is a clear message from the Ghanaian people that we're not doing business as usual anymore. In fact, business as usual has changed. The kind of business we were doing as we're calling usual, that's a different kind of business now. We know what we are about, and we will vote you out if we're not happy with you. Yesterday, we were going through a list of those who had lost their seats. You know, one of the clearest trends we could see was that many of them also had ministerial positions. You know, to me, my understanding of what has happened is basically that people are saying that, listen, you didn't have time for us. Yes, fair enough. You had your nice ministerial job, but you are our MP. You are our representative in Parliament. You did not have enough time for us, you know. Or they are also saying, in addition, that you didn't do what we wanted. What we needed, you didn't do that. You did everything else but what we needed, you know. And I think that if we look at some of the examples, if we look at, say, Alex Aban in a pound, right? That, for me, that was the clearest message that you were not present. You did not do, you didn't show up for us. Okay, you are MP in name, you didn't show up for us. That's the complaint from APAM. Because many of the people there in APAM, on some of our trips there, they said, look, we don't see him. He's not in the constituency. Go through the town. Is there, even during election time, where we are campaigning, there are no posters of him in the town. How is he our MP? Do you understand what I'm saying? This is so that's one side. Then you look at someone like John Ander, who did, you know, a fair bit for his people. But the complaint the people are is that what we needed, you didn't do that. Okay, and some of them, I guess, would be the roads issue and so on, because there's so many roads that are leading from the main Ewutu-Senya East. If you look at the highway between Ewutu-Senya West, the highway between Winneba and Accra, you know, the roads that go out into the villages are terrible roads. So it's two things. It's either you were not there for us, so we don't feel you represented us, or what we really wanted on the ground, you didn't do.
And I think it's going to be a very interesting parliament, because
it will be.
Usually the trends will be whatever the governing party is, whoever the governing party is, they
have a clear majority in Parliament.
Majority in Parliament, and there are people who have argued that that actually cripples the legislature, because if you have an executive and majority in Parliament, obviously, whatever the executive wants, Parliament would approve. So if we end up in a situation where one party has the executive and another party has the legislature, I think we'll have a stronger check and balance system in place, where we are not just going to pass laws or approve of certain things just because our government is in power or the executive belongs to us, but we're actually going to dot our I's, cross our T's, ensure that whatever it is that the executive actually executes is something that the minority and the majority would have to agree on, you know. And for once, I think we'll have a higher attendance rate in Parliament.
Oh, yeah,
we'll have a lot more parliamentarians paying attention to all the details. I mean, if you can look at how the NDC behaved in this past administration, any little thing, they are walking out of Parliament. Every tiny thing, they have an issue with it.
Now, so you can't walk out just anyhow.
You get me? So I think it's whatever way it goes, it will serve the Ghanaian people. But Nanado was at the party headquarters addressing his supporters. Let's take a look at what he said.
Look at that, look at that. Look at that.
Yes, 4 more years.
So that's the president-elect, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and he's saying that he's planning on handing over power to an MPP government. So it looks like MPP wants to hold Ghana for a very long time.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, I think the efforts to entrench the tradition of the MPP is clearly something that is on his mind. He's on it. Even though he has 4 years, he's already looking at a succession plan. You know, but again, you know, in Ghana, we are not very kind with the thoughts of dynasty and legacy and all of that. We're not very kind to that. So we'll see. I mean, at the end of the day, Ghanaians always want better. You know, and so if we feel that at the end of the 4 years, it looks hopeful and it's been good for Ghanaians generally across board, you know, who knows? Ghanaians may decide to retain an MPP government again. But that will be the first time it's ever happened, you know, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
But the NDC, they were not happy with
they were not.
The results, and they actually said they don't agree, they don't accept it. So we're going to hear from Haruna Idrisu.
Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman, former Speaker, Right Honorable Duajaho, the National Chairman of our great party, and the leadership of the National Executives, including the campaign coordinator of Excellency John Dramani Mahamad's campaign for the 2020 presidential and parliamentary elections. My colleague members of Parliament present, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, including very senior colleagues, Mr. Kofi Totobi-Kwachi, Bevlo Late, and Prof. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, let me thank you for your tactfulness. Indeed, but for your love for our democracy, you will not be here at this hour to hear from the National Democratic Congress and its leadership. As a party, we have done extensive consultations and detailed analysis of the outcome of the elections as announced by Jean Mensah, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. And we have come to only one irresistible conclusion, that it's a flawed, discredited election. And therefore we reject without any reservation. We reject the presidential elections as announced by her. And we also want to serve notice that the blatant efforts even to deny us of a parliamentary majority will be fiercely resisted. We know that the good people of Ghana gave us a mandate, and that mandate included a parliamentary majority, that they are engaged in attempts in connivance with the Electoral Commission to undermine and to reduce through brute force and military excessive behavior. We all know the gentleman John Dramani Mahama. He's been president of the Republic, he's been vice president of the Republic. We know his credentials as a consummate Democrat, and know and acknowledge even his conduct after the 2016 elections continued to be commended and admired by many in the world and in our country. It is worth noting that we in the NDC take pride that we birthed this republic, the Fourth Republic, which has endured over 25 years. And we have a moral duty to preserve our democratic ethos and values and to make our democracy stronger for the peace and stability of our country. This evening, Ghana's democracy has come under severe attack and needs some rescue urgently. If not rescued, this attack will foster and grow into future elections, and that will disfigure our track record as a true democratic nation. We've been prided for conducting free, fair, and transparent elections. It is even regrettable to note that this evening, before her declaration, Excellency John Dramani Mahama contested the election as a candidate and therefore a stakeholder and interested party, even when he filed a petition to the Electoral Commission today detailing her concerns in the process of coalition leading to declaration. That was treated with utmost contempt. That we consider unacceptable. That address my grievances, address my concerns as a candidate, it was ignored by the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. This evening, the declaration by the Electoral Commission also smacks of bad faith, particularly when we are aware that our representatives in the strong room were sent by the chairperson to send a message, call it her special message to our flag bearer, Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Whilst they were on their way, then she decided to hold a press conference to do the declaration. So, whatever message was to be conveyed did not even get to President Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And then her petition, they were told that leave it at the reception to address those grievances. Let us be clear, overwhelmingly evidence available to us make it impossible for us to accept this spurious and hurried conclusion of the Electoral Commission of Ghana, led by its chairperson, who has only become an appendage of the ruling New Patriotic Party. We are thankful to the good people of Ghana, including the rank and file of our party, who, despite being at the receiving end of the impunity of this government over the last 4 years, coupled with the brute force in the past few days, voted massively and convincingly for the NDC and would continue to preserve that right of the tongue and would continue to fight any attempt to subvert the sovereign will of the Ghanaian people by the Electoral Commission. We appreciate and value your support and effort. We will ensure that your votes count. The results as declared will not stand and simply will not be accepted by the National Democratic Congress and its following across the country. We intend to take decisive and concrete steps, both with the presidential and parliamentary results, to overturn this brazen and shameless attack on our fledgling democracy. We want Techima serve. That gives us the parliamentary majority. You will all note that Jean Mensah, in her press briefing, said that it's being contested. For what reason, she never stated it. Who is contesting it and for what reason is not known to us. We demand an immediate collation of the results of Techima South as collated from the various polling stations, and we are certain it gives us a parliamentary majority. We demand. And Safiasu, Upper Denchira West, Takwa Nsuyem, you know that because they wanted to water down our majority, as I earlier stated in the day, they questioned 5 parliamentary seats in order to reduce the NDC from 140 to whatever number and to make their own declaration. So even as we stand, not even the EC or the New Patriotic Party knows who has what parliamentary numbers. You are all guessing as you are doing. We, unfortunately, many of this is being done with the connivance of the Electoral Commission and some armed thugs parading as members of Ghana's reverse security agencies. We've seen some men in uniform from the military perpetrate these unacceptable acts, resulting in loss of life. We have seen some reported deaths in Techima, 2, 1 in Savlugu, with the trigger-happy military shooting all around. On some occasions, attacks in uniform and their quest to help the EC overturn election results in favor of Nana Addo Dankwa and his party have shot, maimed, and killed innocent citizens of our republic. We witnessed it, as he said, in Techima South, Savlugu, Ododo-Dio-Dio, Upper Denchira West, Safiwiase, and other constituencies. We know, as I've indicated, that we won Techima South, and it was declared favorably for the NDC and its candidate. We will not accept anything less. We will not accept anything less than the addition of Techima South as one to give us that majority in Parliament. We pray the good Lord bestows his best blessings on our nation. We console the bereaved families, heal those who have sustained various degrees of wounds during this election period. And to the dead, May their soul rest in perfect peace. It's never been the wish of Excellency John Dramani Mahama that a blood will be shed for him to attain the ultimate of being president. Under no circumstance should our beautiful country lose human lives, not even one, in the name of electing a president who, when he sees his losing and losing seats in parliament, hurriedly hides behind the military and some police officers. I've qualified as some. There are still professionals within them and amongst them to do that. Stay safe and be assured that the spurious declaration of the 2020 presidential election by the Electoral Commission of Ghana will not be accepted by us as a party. It remains an attack on our democracy and a blot on the conscience of those who have perpetrated those acts to undermine the integrity of the election. We will resist it. For emphasis, let me repeat, we roundly reject and outrightly reject the declaration of the sitting president as the winner of the 2020 presidential elections. In due course, our flag bearer, Excellency John Dramani Mahama, will address the nation and the international community, supported by vivid and technical evidence of add up to make up the supposed 51 plus something percent for someone. I thank you very much.
All right, so that was Haruna Idrisu giving this speech. He clearly is very upset with the result, and as a position, the NDC has said that they are not accepting, they are completely rejecting both the results of the presidential and the parliamentary. So, Jiva, we've been joined by Godfrey Akoto-Boafo, and we're going to be discussing in a bit more detail some of the numbers that we're getting from across the country in terms of the parliamentary seats. So, what do you make of the speech we just heard from Haruna Idrisu?
Interesting. The NDC as a party had been making a couple of statements in the course of the collation of results leading up to the declaration, and so the position that was espoused by Haruna is no one that anybody will be surprised by, because it is consistent with what they had been harping on in the course of the day. That was the 8th presser of the day.
Okay.
So they had been speaking and consistently outlining what they felt were issues with the results, and they said they're not going to appeal the numbers that they have. They don't think that the true outcome of the election is what has been put out there. That's their position on the matter. The EC also has its own position, and the EC's position is backed by the law. And the law is also quite clear that if you have issues with it, you go to court. There's nothing else you can do outside of, chaos and anarchy. Bar go to court. So we do expect that the NDC will go to court on some of these things and go and explain why they think that the results should not stand in their current form. On the parliamentary side... Yeah,
they mentioned 4 constituencies that I want to get some feedback from you on. So, Techiman South. They also mentioned Sefiri, Upper Dentra West, and Takwan Swayam. Can you tell us something about these 4 constituencies?
Well, Takwan Swayam was a very close election. It had been expected to be at the parliamentary level between the incumbent Mr. Mrikujuka and there was an independent candidate, Madam Jocelyn Tando, and it was a very closely fought race. And in the end, Mr. Mrikujuka won out after several recounts. Now, I'm a bit surprised there because I will just check the numbers to see what the gap was between Mr. Duka, the independent candidate, and the NDC candidate, unless they are contesting it on behalf of the independent candidate, who happens to be an MPP.
Okay, that would be weird.
Supporter. Yeah, so we can look at that particular situation.
Okay.
Techiman South is a seat that they hold. That is a seat that the NDC holds. Unfortunate situation happened that we all saw the footage of. Basically what looked like poor out control and the firing of live firearms into crowds. We saw that as well because we had our correspondents there. And it looks like a situation that is being investigated and has put that particular result, it has left it hanging. So there is that one as well. So then we have Sydney West and then Savelugu. Savelugu is a seat that the NDC holds as well.
Okay.
And basically, it was the NPP that was holding up that one. But we later heard lawyer Godfrey Dami speaking at the residence of the president say that they were going to sign that and contest it in court.
Okay.
So the NPP has already given an indication of what they want to do with that. Now, the reason why these seats have become contentious is because looking at our data as we speak here today, we are at 135 seats apiece for the NPP and the NDC. So these 4 seats become crucial, including the independent seats that is also held by the Member of Parliament for MENA. So with the 4 left to declare, and everybody at 135, and of the 4, traditionally, it's split between the 2 parties. Okay, so it looks fairly even on that side.
Okay.
So whoever is able to come out on top in what looks like a protracted issue, we are going to have this hanging for a while. Although the Supreme Court and the judiciary, let me say the judiciary, in the build-up to this, instituted processes to expedite hearings. So we might not get the situation that we had in 2012, 2013, where we went almost 8 months with this. This process will be a lot quicker based on the processes that have been instituted by the Chief Justice and the judiciary. So they will have a go at that. I think that is where the matter is, Parliament. When it comes to the presidential race, I would want to see what numbers the NDC have. With Parliament, at least, they have mentioned the places and they have shown certain numbers. But with the presidential race, let's be clear, we all collated the results. Okay. So it's not like you can show a different set of results that we have not seen. And there's a few things that we have fact-checked that we will put out later. Yesterday, Mr. Chukuno's presser, the sixth one, had a lot of errors in it. And some of the calculations, I think, were mischievous. And we will break those things down in a bit because he spoke about Mansell Dubia, spoke about Asukwa, spoke about other constituencies. And it looked like they deliberately ignored certain votes in their tally, which, if they had paid attention, you clearly be able to put the numbers together. So we can have that conversation. The parliamentary, yes, there's a case to be made. Let's go for it and see how we can settle those. But with the presidential race,
it's clear.
It's clear.
But what do you make of 135, 135, 1 independent? We do know that this last parliament we had, the split was 169 and 106.
Well, it's a complete repudiation of a lot of members of Parliament and what they stood for and what they achieved by their constituents, who feel that they were not properly represented, who feel that they deserved better. It's also an indictment on the selection process by the MPP in a lot of constituencies. In our voters' diary and in our build-up, you went on some tours, he also went on some tours. I'm sure you would have picked up, so you knew the seats that were going even before the election. And I'm sure the MPP, 2 weeks to the election, would have caught the feel that, look, these seats will go. And in listening to somebody like John Boadu yesterday, he did admit that, look, they knew they were going to lose some seats based on the acrimony that had built up in the run up to the election. So they would need to go home and do their homework. And there's also kudos to the NDC. Look, people underestimated their appeal. And people underestimated the work that they did. And by that, I mean the MPP. I assume that everybody could run around with free SHS, which was the umbrella achievement of the MPP. So every member of parliament felt that, okay, but it looked like the electorate agreed with the president that this was a significant achievement and gave him another mandate, but did not agree that every member of parliament can claim glory for the free SHS. Basically, it became a matter of the president has his policy, you, the member of parliament, I voted for you for a different purpose.
Exactly.
What is yours?
Exactly.
And once people did not feel members of parliament had lived up to their expectations, they kicked them out. And I think it's a good thing going forward.
I agree with you.
You know, it changes the dynamics of our elections because now members of parliament will sit up. You know, we had a similar situation in 2016 where the NDC were kicked out in parliament. They lost a lot of seats. That's why we had the number we had. And in a follow-up election, we have the incumbent government's members of parliament losing a lot of seats. Now, even in the build-up to the election, the MPP had already lost 41 of its members of parliament in the build-up to the election due to their primaries. So if you add that to the 28 or so who have also left, that's a lot of
significant,
chunk of your parliamentary experience just gone like that, and they will not want it to continue. So now people will look at voters with a lot more respect. When you go down to the constituency, you will pay a lot more attention.
I want your comment on Fomena and how important is he in this current mix. Of course, he was with the MPP. Now, will the NDC try and woo him?
Everybody must try and woo him, but let's take it slowly. He had indicated in several interviews that, look, the MPP has kicked me out, but I'm still a member of the MPP in my heart. But legally, you are not a member of the MPP. But he said, look, they have kicked me out, but when I win the seat, I've won the seat for the NPP. So there is that to start with. Okay. As to what he will do with it, I think he has to consult with the people of Fomena. The reason I'm saying this is because the president went to Fomena and basically said, don't vote for this person. I don't know this person. He appealed to the chiefs of Fomena to have a conversation with him. It didn't work out. Mr. Amwakwisiam was invited to the Jubilee House to have a conversation. He did not show up for that conversation because he was adamant that he was right in what the path that he had taken. And so there's been a lot that has gone on between the two parties, and the public rebuke and the banishment, what happened in Parliament, where the party wrote to the Speaker 2 weeks to the end of their sitting, 2 weeks to the end of the sitting to declare that seat vacant. Basically because he had gone independent. That was the whole process. People feel he should be embittered by it. But he sounds like the kind of person who that doesn't worry. Now that he's back, the thing is this, his dilemma is this. There was an MPP candidate on the ballot. The president had openly campaigned for that candidate. That candidate lost. It means that the people of Fomena backed Mr. Amwakwisiam in his dispute with the party. So the people feel he represents us better than the NPP in this constituency. How he goes back to tell the people that, okay, I've decided to go back to the MPP after they backed you against the MPP will be difficult for him.
But you know, the president said when he was in Fomena too that it will be difficult for me to bring certain developments to you when you vote for an independent candidate. So
you see,
what would they expect will happen now? If we didn't have a split in the parliament,
that's what I'm saying.
the president would have had
the situation has changed. Whether you like it or not, the situation has changed.
So they have more bargaining power now.
Exactly. He's in a very good position right now. He's in a very good position. Now, there are those who have also asked questions, and let me just clarify that we heard John Boadu say if he wants to rejoin the party, he has to reapply. He cannot do that. As soon as he does that, the seat becomes vacant again. We have to hold a by-election.
It's true.
It cannot happen because the processes that led to him being declared independent will happen in reverse. Basically, the mode of entry must be stuck with. So he entered the parliament as an MPP member. The moment he indicated he was going independent, he lost his right to be in Parliament. He's entering Parliament as an independent candidate. He cannot reapply to become a member of the MPP
and still keep the seat.
and keep the seat. It will not happen. So what he can do is to cooperate with the MPP in Parliament as and when it suits him. So in Parliament, if that decision to be made, it was okay, I am with this side, I am on that side, but he keeps his official designation as an independent candidate. Immediately that designation changes, we have a by-election on our hands.
Wow. Now, let's look at the executive and the legislature. Some people have had concerns that when you have majority of the governing party also in Parliament, it cripples the legislative process. Now that we have this split, I mean, of course, we're still waiting to hear from the 4 constituencies left. What would the executive and legislature look like as far as policies that will affect all of us?
Well, we still have 4 seats to declare. So that's looking a bit far ahead, but the president gave an indication of what lies ahead in his acceptance speech, or his victory speech, let me put it that way, that's a more appropriate term, when he spoke about the need for consensus and spoke about having to work together in Parliament. And he was very specific. We need to work together in Parliament to place Ghana where Ghana needs to be. Kujopo Nkrumah, Minister for Information, reiterated that message when Samiri Afe interviewed him after the president and said, look, we need to work together, whatever the differences are. So there is a tacit acceptance that the usual operations of Parliament go out of the window. Now people will have to sit down and engage a bit more. There has to be a lot more lobbying in the background to get things done. It also makes things a bit difficult in the sense that you have majority of ministers coming from Parliament. That means for how the House looks like, you don't want a situation where you don't have everybody in the House all the time. You know, so it makes things pretty tight. But once you are able to name your speaker, the side that is able to name a speaker that names committee chairs and holds the majority on those committees based on the ratios that will be agreed upon, will be in a good spot to start with. But I think the most important thing going forward is we are going to see a more consensus-driven Parliament, a Parliament that perhaps, if the people understand what it is, and that is also one thing I feel is an outcome of this vote that we've had. The MPs have come to realize that people have higher standards for them than what they have of themselves in Parliament. So the situation where you go and sit there and, because it got to a point, people simply felt parliamentarians were rubber stamping things. And it was not representative of them. So it was more of a party position. So now, every member of Parliament in going there wants to be seen as, I paid attention to the details. I looked at the documentation. I said this was not there. Otherwise, you come back and I say, oh, Kweku David, this policy that was passed. So you signed it.
Just signed it.
Like that. 4 years, you might be gone. Okay, so now, the spirit of self-preservation we are expecting will perhaps breed a new sense of diligence with some of the things that are done in Parliament. And that is where the excitement for a lot of people lies. I hope they don't kill that excitement. They don't kill that expectation. But it's a good expectation to have, that members of Parliament will become a lot more diligent than people think they currently are. And we will see where it goes from there.
Do you think that in the next administration, the president-elect is likely to pipe down on the number of parliamentarians he wants to use for his cabinet?
There's a legal
mandate
that he has to fulfill in our constitution. So we will see how he deals with that. Again, there are those who have said, who think that lessons have been learned. And again, the president said something. He says it is his wish to hand over in 4 years to an MPP government. The only way that happens is if the people are satisfied. So the challenge for the president, let me put it that way, the challenge for the president going forward is, how do I protect my legacy and also protect the party from an electorate that is quite clearly getting a lot more sophisticated in their understanding of what we do. There are a lot of things that 4 years ago, 6 years ago, 8 years ago, a politician will be able to do and get away with, say and get away with.
Yeah.
Now, the voter understands. And you know, I think we in the media and other places, perhaps took the no vote, no road, no vote, no development tag for granted because we had heard it so many times
yeah.
and it had not really reflected in votes. This time around, it looks like communities and constituencies actually lived up to the mantra of, and we spoke about, is it Biringu or somewhere in the Upper West region where 400 people, that is an entire area, nobody showed up to vote.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nobody, because they had indicated that they were not going to vote because there was nothing to vote for, according to them, and they stuck with it.
Yeah,
and
I think even in Window, Window, they actually woke up at dawn and set up a blockade. You know, set up fire. You know, burning ties in the road because it's like this is election day. This is the D-Day. We're not doing this. You know, eventually the security came in to clear and all
so there's greater pressure on the executive arm, on the legislative arm, not to underestimate the power of the voter again. And it's an exciting prospect. And again, on issues of policy and what will become important, what do you leave out? You see, because there are certain places where you might think, okay, yeah, you've given the free education or you've given free primary health care. But they also tell you, okay, in this place, the water matters to us. If my river is not clean, you will lose. You can give me the free school, but this is what matters to me. So you can no longer look down on any issue that a community raises. It puts us in an interesting place for the development of our democracy going forward, and we'll see how it goes.
But how do we bridge that gap? Because let's look at a place like the Central Region, Ekumfi to be specific. When I think of the Central Region, I think of the Eku juice. But they voted presidential for the NPP. Their member of parliament is gone.
Yeah.
How do we measure what these constituents are looking for? Because you think, okay, you have a factory, you're going to employ people, farming community, you're going to get jobs, but then they are also saying, well, it could be that, of course, he was a deputy minister for fisheries. That's another thing. But their roads, what should members of parliament be looking for, especially those who may have ministerial positions as well?
Well, the thing is this: those areas are amongst the poorest areas in the country.
Yeah.
Stark poverty.
Yeah. In fact, one of the listeners yesterday actually said that exactly the same thing. He said it's a really, really poor area. Yeah.
And there's a reason why they don't like maintaining parliamentarians along the coast. There's a reason why the coast is what it is in our electoral process, and a reason why parties fear the coast. And a place like you said, Ekumfi, residents felt nothing had changed, or constituents felt nothing had changed. Yes, there's the factory, but large swaths of the constituency were still based in stark poverty. Nothing had changed in their lives. And they felt that not enough was being done. Yeah, you have the position, but it's a personal position. You are deputy minister for fisheries. Yeah, it brings some glory to them, but how does it affect the daily bread? And for these people, it is a daily bread issue. And they felt their representatives were not doing enough to handle the daily bread issues, to improve their lives, to engage them a bit more. And so it has become very difficult for some of these members of parliament to keep the trust of the people over a 4-year term. It's very easy to get disillusioned as a constituent in those places because they are so far behind. And when they look at other places and they ask themselves, why can't we be like this place? And they blame members of parliament for this because, again, members of parliament make all kinds of promises. So if you don't live up to those promises, even though there's a proper development agent in there in your DC or your MCE, people overlook those persons because they have no say in that person's job anyway. But you are the one they deal with. Exactly. You are the one they deal with. So you are the one who will pay the price. And we saw that in a lot of constituencies. So, like I said, the thing for parliamentarians going forward now is self-preservation. Because initially, a lot of parliamentarians could operate under the guise of, if my party is popular, I am popular. Now, if the party is popular, the president is popular.
Yeah.
You, the parliamentarian, you have
yourself.
to think about your own level of popularity.
Yeah.
But when it comes to national, on a national level, let's look at someone like Dr. Bernard Okoboy. He was one of the superstars of our fight against COVID-19. Some people thought he would stay in Parliament, he would keep the Lejokuku seat, but he didn't.
Well, the needs of the Lejokuku people are different.
From COVID-19.
That's what I'm saying that. Again, the dynamics are very interesting because if I were to put out a to-do list, a checklist of what a parliamentarian or who a parliamentarian should be, I would pick Okoboy.
Why?
He comes from the neighborhood. He's very accessible, works in the neighborhood. He's very articulate, speaks well in Parliament, and there's the legislative side of it as well. He does very well on that. But then, you will also listen to the people who live there. I don't live there. And the feedback we got was, I got a lot of messages from people who are like, yeah, I can hear Okoboy talk already about everything but the constituency. So they're like, yeah, he's popular.
Yeah.
But he's not talking about the things that are worrying me.
He's not minding them.
Yes, there, according to them. So they needed to find somebody who could solve that problem for them. But those areas are also a bit trickier because the needs change very quickly. And nobody has been able to crack the code for keeping their trust over a 4-year period. So they like to keep their MPs on their toes, in that part of town. But something will have to give eventually. And it's disappointing somebody like Okoboy is gone, but it is the will of the people. If you cannot be more disappointed than the people who actually vote for him and live in the constituency. We might see things from afar and be happy and say, he's doing the job. But like I said, the feedback I got, for instance, there's one of our Adams, Scott Kofi Amwa. He lives in the constituency, and his problem was, in 2016, he actually went out and campaigned for Okoboy on the basis of one thing, that Okoboy had said he was going to build a mini health center in every polling center.
Okay.
Basically, that kind of promise. And for him, it convinced him because he felt it was an important need. And he said he could not hold his head up high after campaigning because that promise had not been fulfilled. So he voted against him based on that. So for him, it wasn't a matter of just bread or butter. For him, it was like, you told me you're going to build clinics. Where are the clinics?
Well, we know that promises are sometimes projections. We don't always meet them.
Well, make them as projections then.
Okay.
Don't make them as definites.
Because I think, Joe, Godfrey, what you're saying, I think, is what we tend to hear, that they are making them as actually concrete promises that they will for sure make happen, And so if you don't do even maybe one or two, forget about doing all the different ones, but at least do one or two so we see you started, then it's like a complete failure of a promise that you made, But the next few years are going to be very exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I think we're going to see a domino effect.
Okay.
And I was discussing this with Kokwe and Nathan on the Breakfast Show yesterday on, again, this self-preservation by MPs. When we had that conversation about the MMDCs and DCs voting for them, that conversation didn't go too far. The referendum didn't happen. But here's the situation. MPs go and tout themselves as agents of development and are losing a lot of seats. There is a conversation that will happen because MPs have meetings. I bet you there's a conversation that will happen amongst parliamentarians that, look, if we don't find a way of letting people hold MMDCs and DCs accountable, we will not survive. And the institution of parliament will not survive because as they themselves keep complaining, they keep losing a lot of experienced hands who can actually do the work of parliament. You see, yes, the daily bread matters, but the daily bread is also supported by law. Without law, you can't go and get your daily bread. Now, the fine laws we have are written by certain people. Those people have a certain skill set, built, gathered over years of experience of seeing what a proper law looks like, what works, what doesn't work. So the more we lose those people, the quality of lawmaking reduces. If the quality of lawmaking reduces, I bet you the quality of life will reduce.
But some people also say you don't know what the new people are bringing to the table.
No, but see, it's
fresh
a process.
Blood, fresh perspective to things,
exactly.
diverse
But
views.
on a massive scale like that?
Yes, on a large scale like that. And the thing is this, look, Parliament is a minefield. I've seen a fresh member of Parliament go and not even know that there's a process to standing up to speak.
Yeah.
You just can't raise your hand and say, I'm the one who wants to speak. There's a process to it. But some go out there and miss those things. And by the time you are done with your orientation, if you are not quick enough, you are in the second or third year.
Getting ready to
campaign again. So things move really fast. That is why they need some sort of consistency in some of the things that happen there. So I'm thinking, look, the MPs are going to say, it is high time we put the development people up front. Let them go and take the flag for the things that they actually have to take the flag for. Because look, if you're an MP and you go and promise a road, your common fund cannot handle the construction of any major road project. You can lobby, but the DCE or MCE actually might have the funds to meet that. But here we have a situation where if your DC doesn't like you, he can sit down and fold his hands. You want a project on this road, he does the project on the other road. You want a school here, he puts the school in a different
So
place.
they must actively engage the constituents as well about all these frustrations that they may be facing.
And that's what I'm saying, but you see, you can actively engage them, but the point is, you are the only one they vote for.
True, so they are holding you accountable.
It is you who will be held responsible. So if the MPs pushed by the spirit of self-preservation don't push the MCs and DCs and say to be voted for,
they will go back.
They will
to
go
where
back.
They come from.
So that evolution, watch out for it.
Look out for a constituency that was a big win for the NPP. But this is an interactive show, so wherever you're watching us from, we do want to hear from you. Please use the hashtag the Election Bureau. Also use the hashtag GH Elections, and our WhatsApp line is 0550-585832. If you're outside Ghana, use the country code +233. Yesterday, we found out who our president-elect is. It's Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. In Parliament, though, we have 135 NPP, 135 for the NDC, and we have 1 independent. We still have 4 seats, so we're going to see what will happen to those 4 seats. But Godfred.
Yes, you can call me that.
In
you can call me that too.
John Peter Amewu is coming to Parliament to represent them.
Yeah,
that's a big one for the NPP.
You know, it's like in the big green forest. There is one blue tree.
Literally.
It stands out. You know.
But what do we make of that?
No, I mean, well played. And, you know, there had always been that belief that if somebody could crack that code, it would be John Peter Amewu, because he has crossover appeal in the region. He's been DC in that area. He's been regional party chair. He's a well-known figure in the region, and he's a likable person, honestly speaking. He's hardworking. So he was, if there was anybody who stood a chance, and they looked like the party understood that and decided to give him the resources to push that chance and see if it would work. And hey, it did. Yeah. That does not mean that it came cheap. I mean, we were in that constituency. I'm sure it is one of the most expensive campaigns that have ever been run. The battle for that Hohoi constituency. But it looks like it has paid off. He has a lot of work to do to keep it, because there will be a lot of work done to take it back from him. Okay. So he needs to, you know, whatever it is he did, he has to be able to maintain it and maintain it properly, because the NDC will not like that he holds that seat, and will spend the next 4 years finding ways of making sure that they take it back.
But what does this say about the Volta region and the perception that NDC has such a strong grip of the region?
Well, I think if you look at the overall numbers, that is what it means.
But for the MPP to pull this off, I don't think
But
people
that's what I'm saying, that, you know, there are certain, a time comes when a candidate emerges that you just cannot do anything about.
Okay.
It's a state of politics. Yes. It might take 10 years, it might take 20 years, but there comes a time when somebody emerges in an area that even the most avowed opponent sits back and says, "Shall I for this guy?"
You like the guy.
Yeah, I can't really dislike this guy. You know, so he casts doubt on whether you can vote for him or not. And I think the NPP were lucky that they had him away, and I think they also put a bit of work in him as well. You know, he's an energy minister. He's come from, you know, he's been built up for the current role that he has. So good for him. And like I said, the work has just started. Winning it is just the first step. Keeping it is the true test.
Let's talk about, we're not moving far away from the Volta region. Let's look at OT. But I want us to look at OT in the context of a possible gerrymandering strategy to let the MPP be more prominent in places like Volta as well as the northern parts of Ghana.
Well, you'd have to look at the numbers a bit more carefully. I think you are referring to the Guan district situation, but that situation had been pending for a while. It's quite obvious what it was. You know, everybody with an eye can see what it was. But again,
with OT, the MPP got 100,000 plus.
Yeah.
Okay, compared to the NDC getting 181,000. So when you look at that, the margins were not as massive as in the Volta region. You know, OT region was reasonably, it was more than half.
Yeah, but the fact still remains that they got enough votes there. And the OT region, the OT part, let me put it that way, of the Volta region before it was carved out, had always been a bit more favorable
towards the MPP.
You know, if you look at the electoral history, they had at least all the success they had in the Volta region was in that part of the region. So they felt a bit more confident about it. But eventually, there are 8 seats in OT. The NDC won them all. That is what mattered to them. The NDC won all the seats there. Going forward, we'll see how it pans out. But might also lead to having then those conversations about perhaps placing a cap on Parliament, because now we're going to get 276 when the Guan constituency comes into play based on the formation of the creation of the Seoul district. So that might be a conversation to have in the future if we want to prevent further instances of this. But it's been happening. Look, the politicians, both parties have accused each other of gerrymandering at one point or the other in a bid to entrench themselves and grow their electoral advantage. None of them is innocent of this. They are all doing it.
Now let's look at the Ashanti region. MPP took 2 seats from the NDC in 2016. NPP has been able to take back that 1 seat. New Edubiase, what do you make of it?
It was going to happen.
You think so?
Yeah, it was going to happen. Again, like I said, it's a traditional NDC seat.
They lost it for the first time.
They lost for the first time. Jojo Dro picked it up. He was made a deputy minister, I think, for agriculture. Yes, deputy minister for agriculture as well. They picked it up. But it was also going to be hard to keep. You know, the NDC lost it because they made a lot of promises to that constituency and did not keep them. The person who came, Adam Salam Yakubu, I mean, his name is a legacy name in that constituency. His brother is one of the most popular persons in that constituency. He owns New Edubiase Football Club. And they call themselves Young Konkwana.
Abdul Salam Adams.
Yes, so he had worked through the constituency. You know, and once they got their act together, it was always likely the NDC, with the right candidate, was going to be able to get back that seat. So I wasn't surprised that they got back New Edubiase.
But they couldn't get back Offensive North.
With that particular candidate. No, I'm just saying he's the candidate as well.
Okay, he's the candidate, okay.
With Adam, they had the perfect candidate to take on somebody like George Ojo.
Okay.
Because he's entrenched, he lives there all the time.
They relate to him.
They relate to him. They've known him since he was a kid. Like, he's the neighborhood kid who has grown up and done good. And didn't leave. You understand? So he was pretty formidable. And I hope he does a good job for them.
Offensive North, what do we make of NDC not being able to take back that one?
Well,
NPP also said they wanted to do 47-47, but
there's general disappointment on both sides. But it's then I'm sure the NDC will take the gains that they have made and fight another day. You know, because considering what the stated objective of the MPP was, which was the 47/47, prevents the NDC from crossing a certain vote threshold. You know, it does not look like it happened. So even though they will celebrate with all the seats that they have, the NDC will also feel like, look, we have improved our standing in a region that normally does not do well for us. And so we will take any kind of win in this particular region. So I don't think the NDC will be too disappointed with the Ashanti region. In fact,
they were happy.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying. In fact, I've already seen rumblings about Mr. Woon to me here and there, but I don't think it will go anywhere.
Let's talk about female representation. There's quite a number of new faces. There's also quite a number of ladies that lost out.
But I think numbers have gone up.
Yeah,
We have moved from around 20. We have moved from the 20s to around 39 now. So there are a lot more women.
That's good.
Yeah, there's quite a good list of female representation in Parliament, which is good. We should do more to get them in Parliament.
I mean, I think that the aim should be at least 50-50. You know, but that may be looking like a stretch at the moment. But I think we should push it hard.
Yes.
You know, to get to that place. Because the society that we have a lot of ladies as a backbone, you know, of many homes, you know, and so I think it's important to have that representation go further and be actually in our legislature as well. Barbara, you see, lost a seat. Was that a surprise to you?
I did not, you know, nobody saw her win in 2016, and nobody saw this loss as loss. It's one of those things, you know. I don't think it was, she was Deputy Works and Housing Minister, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
I think that's what it was.
I'm not really familiar with what the local politics in that
area.
Yes. But like I said, in 2016, nobody really saw her coming. And in 2020, nobody also saw the loss coming. But she'll be around for a while.
What about Otinjesi, Barbara? Tourism Minister.
That seat has always, you know, had the tendency to go back and forth. She was a very strong candidate. But again, the local politics will always win out. She was one of the more... She took credit for a lot of things. That fantastic year of return, you know. But the people in the Huni Valley area ask, year of return, what did it mean?
Did it benefit us?
You know, don't see it that way. Perhaps you can go there and explain it to them that, well, we brought in X amount of money. That money goes into these funds. The funds will come to build this. They'll look at you. You know, constituent politics does not work like that. So yeah, she did an incredible job, I must admit, at the tourism ministry. Significant improvements she has made, but it didn't touch the people in her constituency, and they kicked her out.
Let's look at one of the seats NPP maintained, but I think NDC did a really great job at Ayawaso West Wogon.
Yeah, it was one of the seats that it's kind of like the blue ribbon constituency, isn't it? It's the one that everybody wants. Nobody understands why. You know, it's like
maybe it's the makeup on. I don't know.
You know, and John Dumelo gave it a shot.
He fought hard.
I think this is as good a race as we've had since Kwame Wadako contested that seat, and he started off as, you know, somebody people underestimated John.
He's an actor,
initially.
so he will use his popularity.
People underestimated his work ethic. People did not think he would put in the work, because we've had people who are immensely popular take to the political field and simply rely on their popularity and stay at home. So once in a while they put in an appearance, you know, but they don't give it a shift. But he gave it a full shift. Did he make mistakes along the way? Yes. But I think it's a learning experience for him. And at the end of the day, the closeness of the race showed that he had done some considerable work, and that consistency should not be taken for granted as something that stands. The others have also said, well, if the students had come, maybe it would not have been a contest. But the thing is this, who knows where the students would have voted? Who knows?
But even some of the figures that I saw coming from the campus, those that were there on the campus, they were voting MPP, you know, largely. So that was very interesting for me.
Will that be the Chamasile Japan legacy or
Campus has always voted
MPP anyway?
Campus has always voted MPP, but it would have been, the difference might have been just how well does John eat into the campus votes. You see, because the numbers that we have seen have shown that in the areas that had a significant voter population growth, that were perhaps largely for NDC or largely for MPP, when the votes came in, the votes didn't go 80%, 90% to one side. You are looking at 51-49% splits. Which is very interesting because, for instance, I looked at the numbers that came in from the Kaswa constituency, Senior East, for instance, where we had a significant voter population growth in a constituency that votes almost exclusively for the MPP. If you look at Howard Kumson's numbers from 2016, and you look at Howard Kumson's numbers from 2020, and how well the NDC have closed, it tells you that massive voter growth that happened there did not go one side. The voter growth went for both parties, and the gap has been closed significantly. Look, it's a gap that going into the next election, whoever contests that election will look back and say, okay, I have to do some hard work. So back to Iowa West to Oregon. Yeah, the students might have voted for the MPP, but who knows just how many of them might also have voted for John.
Well, we have some messages from you guys, and if you have not yet sent us your messages, we do want to hear from you because it's an interactive conversation. Use the hashtag GHElections, the hashtag the Election Bureau, and our WhatsApp line 0550-585832 for us to hear from you. And of course, if you're outside Ghana, we will still want to hear from you. So please use the country code +233. I think when we come back from the break, we'll read some of your messages. We've received a lot of the messages, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
There is no promise we cannot keep. There is no commitment we cannot honor. There is no delivery we cannot guarantee. There is only one Bethel Logistics Company Limited, a licensed international freight forwarding and clearing agent, a trusted global brand with an extensive network for the movement of air freight and ocean freight worldwide. We are the trusted name for road freight into Western and Northern Africa. We are fully accredited by Ghana Customs and Excise. We cater for all your freight forwarding, customs clearing and forwarding, cross trades, inland transportation, internal cargo tracking systems, customer freight costing and consultancy, cold chain logistics management, logistics and warehousing, quality inspection, and much more. In Accra, Tema and Takrady, we are always available to ensure easy movement of cargo countrywide. Call us on 0204-528-900 or 0244-707-859. Email info@bethellogistics.com. Locate us in Accra at North Ridge, adjacent Accra Girls High School, or in Tema at Community 4, or in Takrady on the second floor of the GCB building. Website bethellogistics.com. Bethelog, experts in shipping logistics.
Speed thrills, but it kills. An open road in good condition may entice a driver to speed. As a driver, you must not speed, especially in areas where speeds of less than 50 kilometers per hour are required. Road engineers sometimes construct speed humps in an effort to make drivers reduce speeds, especially in residential areas, commercial areas, and near schools where speeds of less than 30 kilometers per hour are required. If you are driving in such areas, please slow down so that you can bring your vehicle to a stop when you have to. Stop road crashes now. Stay alive.
This road safety education is brought to you by the National Road Safety Authority.
Right, okay, so welcome to yet another exciting episode of the GH Elections Blitz. My name, of course, is Emmanuel Sapon, and if you guys have been tuning into Citi TV, you probably know why I'm here. I'm here to bring you the social media highlights on what's going on with regards to the Ghanaian elections. Of course, if it's trending, then definitely know you're going to be talking about it right here on Citi TV. Still the Election Bureau, so don't get it twisted. Right, so a lot has been happening on social media as a result of the announcement that the EC chairperson made or declared, and that being the flag bearer of the MPP, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is now the president-elect of the Republic of Ghana. But we are going to take you through a series of events that led to the declaration, or prior to the declarations, that many of you might have missed. And I am here to make sure that you guys don't miss all the action. So now, the EC yesterday, between the hours of 12 and 2, I believe, I think around 12:30, did come out to say that the reasons why we couldn't receive the declaration of the certified results in terms of the presidential elections are due to one or two unfortunate reasons, one of which was some rain fall activity in some of the regions. And also she did mention that there were some challenges with the collation, and so they had to make sure that everything was verified, certified, and authenticated.
We experienced quite a number of challenges, making it difficult for us to fulfill this promise. And what had happened was the unexpected rain that occurred in many parts of the country yesterday resulted in a number of voting interrupted. And the result was was that long after voting, some centers had to continue their voting. And this led to some delays with voting and the subsequent collation of results.
Ghanaians, as usual, were talking. And the best way they could voice out their concerns was on social media. And this is what some of them had to say. Joshua says, Jean Mensa managed to make the entire process more efficient than ever, but somehow people want to deny the possibility of getting results in 24 hours. They are just making the work difficult for her. It's okay. Jeff Wall says, the results all scatter for my eye inside. Make Jean Mensa can't tell me something. I beg. Kwesi Mola says, the EC2, declare the results, Masa, retire. He comes again and says the EC wants to push the Soluku to Saturday or what? Masa, declare it today, and then the Soluku is from today till Sunday. No darling, no. Share. Osisako there says EC for loose sharp, then declare the winner, make we move, because it be like the Christmas vibe makes slow. Okay, now on to some related news still on the NDC. Not too long ago, we heard the minority leader in Parliament, Haruna Idrisu, actually say that they were going to resist oppressors' rule in terms of the figures they were seeing from the media, suggesting that they haven't really won majority because, to the best of their knowledge and from what their systems are telling them, they've already taken a lot of seats in Parliament. And as a result, he is also rallying other NDC supporters to go out there and fight. Now, Ghanaians are saying, we should go and fight for who? So tensions actually arose when this tweet, which is supposedly or allegedly coming from an NDC faithful, and it goes by the handle Bruce Jojo, and it reads, "This is the time to fight the oppressor's rule. Ghanaians must resist any attempt by the EC's Jean Mensa to impose a president we did not vote for on us. Our will to fight is greater than any power. Our will must prevail. Get up and fight. It's your life you're fighting for." Yao Ofosu says, shouting "get up and fight" to a generation that likes jams is just funny to me. Adum Boy says, people saying get up and fight. Queen Guy says, why didn't you say I will get up and fight? Papa, please fight your fight. YRN Zamani says, get up and fight? Who and who? You see your heart? You fit fight? Father Sisi says, you can always go and resist in court like MPP did with the 2012 polls. We won't get up and fight. Selby says, you just sleep your bed inside the counter, me say, get up and fight. Bro, we all bed. I no brush safe. Now, to some entertaining news. Have you heard of Soloku? You know what? Let me take you through a series of tweets where people kept using Soloku throughout their reactions. And starting off with Sugar Bread says, waiting for results. Drip ready, but Soloku not Miniso. Oh, Charlie. Hold on for me. Hold on for me. And Yanti Miniso, we're coming right after you, man. We're coming right after you. Asabri Roland says, after the declaration, we go use Mahama Fa. Tree Soloku, well. Kofi Kelly GH says, if we can't announce the winner of this elections, let BBC announce, give us a, because the Soloku guys are ever ready. Kwame Haya says, the easy go do sound and the Soloku tear from my eye top. Guys, cool down for the easy, cool down. Our Kwesi Gaza says, whoever wins, our Soloku starter pack are ready. Easy should look sharp. Give us. Okay. Regular Nice Boy says, a Soloku delayed is a Soloku well planned. Okay. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask some few people around what Soloku is, if they've heard Soloku before, and if they could just give us a little demonstration of what this whole Soloku is about. And maybe after, I can gather all the explanations and definitions and tell you in layman terms what Soloku is.
Soloku is basically getting a brass band, a group of people who play brass band come together to, play songs and get people, the youth, especially the young girls and young boys, come together to dance and march on the streets. They do all manner of things. Like in Tree, they say, oh, Omube Tree or more and things like that. Where they try to dance and engage in certain acts that society may frown upon, basically. But that's the whole reason.
Delivery time.
Okay, what I know about Soloku, in our hometown, we use brass band. Maybe let's say for instance, after the election, let's say maybe this particular person won the election. We will gather ourselves with a brass band and play for some time.
What I know about Soloku is it's a form of a group that comes together, and we have we call it a little drum that we used to play. Then there's other guys around the background. They used to give music out, like maybe let's say if I may put something, yeah, Cody, that kind of form. Yeah, and you see those who be at the back will be, dancing to the rhythms. Yeah, and you can feel it that Charlie Soloku masa no be easy, be bozy.
Soloku, brass band, the way they back when the boy is behind the girl, like the touches though. I'm sorry, I had to say it. I've never done some before, but I know what it is.
Maybe try Ghana we win the Africa Cup. Just an airport, my corner at the truck, loading mercy so trailer on. We did it through other Soloku sa man sa on. A blast I'm winning baby. I don't know a change. Oh, brah. I mean so.
Solo cool. Those times they remember school time, baby. Solo cool. If I catch my baby like this, you don't go slow. Solo cool, slow. Then you take the mother, man. They take them slowly, and then you spoil it. That be solo cool, solo yo. Then you give them solo cool, solo yo, solo cool, solo yo.
Hopefully we could solo coup our way into the weekend. Thank you for staying with me and watching the GH election blitz right here on the Election Bureau. Don't forget you can be part of the conversation, so use the hashtag the Election Bureau or the hashtag GH elections. You can at me at Olele Salvador anywhere, everywhere social media. You could follow and at Citi TV GH on Twitter, Facebook, everywhere, and also 97.3 Citi FM at Citi 97.3. So I come your way with some more. Hey, go out there in peace and don't return in pieces. See ya.
One time for your skin pain. The devil always want to see me in pain, but the blessing will drive you insane.
All right, welcome back, and we are continuing the conversation on the Election Bureau. My name is David Kwekusechi, and I'm on this set here with Jifa Ekria Ametam and Godfrey Akotobuafo. We're going to help us to get into the different conversations, the different layers of conversations that there are around the election results. Now, you've been sending us a lot of messages, so let me just read out some of your messages that you've sent to us. Hello, Sister Jifa and Brother Sechi. I'm watching you right now from Seattle, Washington. And I got to say kudos to you guys in Ghana, feeding us live updates of the elections. Very much appreciated. Thank you very much for that message. Peter, Amewu's victory is not genuine. He imposed himself on the people of Hohoi. It's very unfortunate that the people of Hohoi were denied the opportunity to express their will, but I can assure you this fake victory can only be temporal. Godfrey, I don't know if you have any comments.
The facts do support this claim.
I don't know how the victory can be fake. The people of Hohoi expressed their and their opinions, and they went to go and vote. You know,
it's not like there wasn't an election in Hong Kong.
Yeah,
there was an election.
There was an election, you know, and people did go out to go and exercise their franchise. Hi guys, glued to the discussion. Please, how will Parliament be structured should the opposition win majority seats? For example, which party will nominate Speaker? Does the majority elect the chairpersons for the various parliamentary committees?
Yeah.
This is coming from Jay.
Yes.
So the majority elects a chairperson?
Yes, the majority runs the House. So
Okay.
they will nominate a Speaker, they will run the committees, name chairs, and have the majority on those committees. That is why people are saying it will provide significant working difficulties if you have the opposition party having the majority in Parliament. Because pushing nominees through, getting your budget approved, you have problems.
So the executive will have his work cut out.
It means you have to do a lot of background work.
lobbying and
It's
all
not
of
like,
that.
you might get it through, but you really have to convince. You really have to convince.
There was a conversation that was going on yesterday, and some people were suggesting that, well, in the past we've had the practice of the president nominating someone for Speaker of Parliament. Is it just coincidental that it appears that way because the majority has always been?
Yeah, Parliament has to agree. There has to be consensus from both sides of the House on the nominee.
Okay, all right. Hi, Citi. Please ask Godfrey what he thinks of Dr. Baumia Peter Amewu ticket for MPP 2024.
I leave it to the MPP.
Okay, let's go on. Let's move on. He leaves it to the MPP. Good morning. Which are the 4 remaining constituencies left to be declared? This is Yusuf from Bole.
The contentions are with Upper Denchira West, Savelugu, Techiman South, and Sine West.
All right. Okay. Thank you for that. Good morning, the best TV in Ghana. So thank you very much for that. Very insightful discussions going on here. Can you speak on the impact of the OT region parliamentary elections and what likely effect they are to have on the balance of power in Parliament?
Well, I think we addressed that issue.
We did that earlier.
NDC holds 8 seats. So.
Yeah. Okay. So what is the political future of former President Mahama in relation to the NDC? I think he's going to say the same thing he said. So we'll leave that to the end.
No, but that I can address.
Okay, let's go. Let's get that I can address.
I think he will.
Okay, so let me finish the question. He says, should the NDC stick with him one more time for 2024 or switch to a fresh face?
He just
proved that he's a legit
6
person
million
for them.
votes in an election where people had expected him to be shellacked.
Yeah.
You know.
So he's their strongest candidate.
Well, I don't think he's their strongest candidate because you don't know what somebody else can do. But the point he has proven is
stick with
he is very relevant to people. The thing is this, look, in the build-up to the election, people had said Mahama is not popular. There was just too much baggage from 2016 for him to make an imprint, to make this a true contest. But this was a true contest.
And this gap is much closer than the
on
2016
on the higher voter turnout, of course, and a much larger voter population. But if you look at the percentages, he has done better. You know, so he will be very, very happy with himself, even though he has lost. He can find some joy in there if he's talking about the future. For the now, he'll be upset. But for the future, he'll be very happy with the numbers.
All right, Godfrey, we're going to wrap up with you soon, but I want us to do the Greater Accra region because it's the region that the NPP lost, both presidential and parliamentary. What do you make of it?
Well, it was a complete turnaround. The history of Greater Accra shows that no party ever wins Greater Accra by wide berth. You know, they're always marginal. So you look at 96, it was 9-6 to 13. 2000 NPP held 7, NDC held 2000 NPP held 15, NDC held 7. 2004 16 11. 2008 9 18. 2012 14 20 for the NDC, and then that was turned around in 2016 to 21 seats for the NPP, 13 for the NDC. Now in Greater Accra, as we speak, the NPP holds 14, means they've lost 7 seats, and the NDC is up to 20. So there are always marginal, turns in the Greater Accra region. But then the NDC will be very happy with this performance in this region. This is the capital. It's the most cosmopolitan city we have in the country. It's the hub, it's the economic hub of the country as well. So they also say that if you want to test the pulse of Ghana. It's either you are testing it in Accra or you are testing it in Kumasi. But the best pool for that test is the Greater Accra region. You have farming communities, you have school communities, you have coastal communities, you have people from, you have a lot of settlers within the constituency and the region, and it's getting bigger. You can see Greater Accra is moving up, and we now have a proper Greater Accra. It's moved eastwards on that side. The group program is getting larger and whatnot. So the NDC will be very happy with its performance. What Greater Accra has shown is that don't take Greater Accra for granted. People will make up their minds about you based on their local needs.
Well, this is still the Election Bureau. Thank you so much for staying with us. It is an interactive show, so wherever you're watching us from, we do want to hear from you. Please use the hashtag the Election Bureau, use the hashtag GHElections, and our WhatsApp line 0550-585832 for us to hear from you. If you're outside Ghana, please use the country code +233. We have been joined by Dr. Rashid Dramani. He is the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, and he's going to help us understand this new parliament that we're going into and what it means for all of us. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being with us. How are you?
I'm fine. I hope you are fine too.
Yes, I'm good. What do you make of the results that we have so far in Parliament?
It's very interesting, and as you guys rightly said, I think the story is not finished yet. We are still waiting for the 4 or 5 that are being contested. But you know, even before we got to December 7, you know, we had already lost about 60 MPs. I mean, that is those who lost the primaries from both sides. On December 7, we lost 50 MPs. And then if you add that to those who are retiring, I think we are in the region of about maybe 40 plus percent. But for me, it is not the attrition that is interesting. It is rather the split in the middle that we are seeing. That is quite interesting. And there is what I call the 500,000 voter effect that we have seen in these elections. If you look at, I mean, you guys like to do a lot of comparison, looking at previous elections and so on, because I followed that your coverage. You know, you look at the 2016 elections, the MPP won by about 1 million or more votes. You look at this, like you said, before we went into these elections, many had written the NDC off and said they were not competitive, and the former president and so on. Or we saw that they were able to claw back about 500,000 votes. I mean, that is the floating voters. And so NDC, if you like, won by 500,000, MPP lost by 500,000. And I think that is a very big message to both parties.
What do we make of that? Losing by 500,000 and another party winning by 500,000.
Yes. So why is it that the NDC couldn't claw back all the 1 million that the MPP won the last time? And why is it that the NPP couldn't retain the 1 million that it got, and even maybe did better during these elections as they said they were going to? And I think these are very, very important questions that would have to guide our legislators. I mean, no matter how the configuration of Parliament will look like come January 7, these should guide our leaders in clearly understanding that there is a message that Ghanaians are sending, that we don't want excessive partisanship. We don't also want just opposing for the sake of being an opposition party. We want constructive opposition, and then we also want, you know, issues to be dealt with in a way that the interests of us, Ghanaians, the interests of the voters are taken into account. And so this is going to have to force the two parties, one way or the other, to work together and to have to do a lot of give and take.
Dr. Dramani, have we ever had a situation like this before? And what are some of the clearest lessons that we can already begin to deploy, from anything that we may have had before like this?
Well, I mean, I think the closest is what we saw in perhaps during the Liman's regime or so. But for me, I think if I like to look at what is happening in our country within the context of what is happening in the world of parliaments.
Okay.
And to say that, in countries where, parliaments have been effective in terms of their lawmaking role, in terms of their oversight role in particular, have been countries where no one party has an overwhelming majority in parliament, to the extent that it can throw things down the throat of the opposition, knowing that at the end of the day, when it comes to the right honourable speaker say all those in favour, the numbers would favour the party that has the big number in parliament. Parliaments that have been effective have been parliaments where everybody is watching their back and knowing that, look, we don't have the numbers and we have to make sure that on this matter, on that matter, there has to be some discussion, there has to be some dialogue. And sometimes, there is the power of persuasion, the power of dialogue. Sometimes even a fool can be convinced if your argument is
strong enough,
is sound. So what I'm saying is that we are going to have to see a lot of this. Otherwise, for their own self-preservation, and I'm talking about NDC and NPP now, come the next election in the next 4 years, they will have to make sure that they all come to the middle. Yeah. Otherwise, perhaps the voter only has the opportunity every 4 years. But it looks like we are very patient, and when we get our turn, we can unleash some damages.
Yeah. Here's the case where the opposition NDC is saying that they don't agree with the results that are there. Where do we go from here? What are the first steps? Where do we go from here? What do you see?
Well, I think what I would see is, let the legal processes take their course. I mean, we have been here before in 2012 or so when the then opposition lost and then went to court. They were very patient for almost 8 months. Then the legal process ran its course, and at the end of the day, I think we all accepted the ruling, and the country moved on. I mean, I just hope that this time around it doesn't take 8 months. I mean, this is done very quickly, particularly because of the configuration of Parliament this time around, so that we can get the business of government moving. Because if the opposition says, not the opposition, let me use my words carefully. If the NDC says, we don't recognize this president, we don't recognize the victory and so on. If we are not going to, if we are not able to go past that, then I think working in Parliament is going to be quite difficult.
Okay, Doc, so we know that, I want to say historically, the executive, there's this feeling that the executive has a strong hold on the legislature because of us having sometimes, for instance, the immediate government that we had, MPP was the executive as well as the majority in Parliament was the executive. So then, was the MPP, sorry. So when the executive proposes something, the tendency for the majority to go where the executive wants us to go is high. What would it look like now with NPP at 135, NDC at 135, and an independent? And we do know that we're still waiting for the results for the remaining 4 constituencies. But what would it mean, like, as far as checks and balances are concerned between the executive and the legislature?
If you ask me, very honestly, we are going to see definitely some changes and things are going to be done differently this time around because of the numbers. But I mean, provided the rules don't change, we have almost the same actors working, or maybe new actors working with the same kind of old rules that we have. For instance, this marriage between Parliament and the executive that has been thrown at us by the Constitution, I think is one big factor that has been the bane of oversight, in particular over the years in our Parliament, and that is not about to change. We still are going to be operating with the same Constitution. You have a situation where our standing orders, unlike, for instance, some countries that I know in Eastern and Southern Africa, our standing orders give all the kind of leadership of key committees, oversight committees, and so on, to the party that has the majority in Parliament. There isn't a kind of division. A kind of maybe sharing of those positions to take into account the color and the configuration of Parliament. All these things are still going to be in place, and so we are not going to see very much changing. Perhaps we are going to see more drama. Come January 7th.
But speaking of drama, how destructive will that be? Because we know that when we heard from the president-elect Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, one of the things he mentioned was the two political parties working together, especially in Parliament. And this is, we have this history of the NDC, for instance, when they were the minority in Parliament, usually walking out before they even hear what the MPP has to say. And how do we now get to a point where these two dominant political parties will put their differences aside and figure out how to serve the nation better?
Well, I think we've heard the president very clearly yesterday. I just hope that the words will be matched by maybe real deeds and real action once we get to January 7th. Because sometimes the rhetoric is different from maybe what we see in reality. If indeed there is going to be compromise and there is a need for the two to work together, then we would have to see a lot of dialogue. And I think, as I said earlier, sometimes even a fool can be convinced if there's a lot of dialogue and there's a lot of persuasion. And then, as if you permit me, I quote the president-elect of the United States. I was listening to him, and him facing almost a similar kind of challenge that we have in this country. He said, "I'm not going to get everything. On some issues, I will have to give, and on some other issues, maybe the other side would also have to give." And I think that is what I'm foreseeing for our Parliament. And again, I think we have to remember the floating voters. That the 1 million that is in the middle that decides our elections. I think the two parties would have to keep that in mind. As I said at the beginning, the 500,000 voter effect that we have seen would have to be on their minds as they negotiate, as they discuss, as they dialogue, and as they work together to fashion out how they govern this country, both from the executive angle and then from within the legislature.
Now, yesterday we heard from the NDC, the former minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, talked about some concerns they had around 4 constituencies. So I'm going to mention them and ask your thoughts on these particular constituencies and the concerns that the NDC has. So Techiman South is one, Sefiri also is another one, Upper Densha West, and Takwa in Swayem. Can you give us some background on these 4 constituencies, if you have, and why the NDC would be worried about these 4 in particular? These particular elections, as we have seen, we are seeing that it wasn't a normal election. We've seen a lot of toss-ups. We've seen a lot of flipping, if I could use some of the words of the politicians, and so on and so forth.
I mean, you look at, for instance, Takwa in Swayem. I think it has been a seat that has been traditionally held by the MPP. I think for a very long time, if I remember very well, Honorable Gifty, I can't remember her last name. She was the MP for that constituency for a very long time. You go to Techiman, I think it has been a seat that kept moving because at one point we even had somebody like Honorable Emia Okufi holding that seat, and then NDC has held that seat at some point, and so on and so forth. The other two, I don't have the data right in front of me now. But for me, I think if you look at these four, I mean, the reason why the NDC will be concerned about this is just about the race to hold on to power and to control the majority in Parliament. I think that is the bottom line for them.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Rashid Dramani, for your perspective on the Parliament as it looks right now. We appreciate your perspective on that, and we will definitely be back in touch with you as the other outstanding constituencies get sorted out, and we would like to then at that point it will be clear who is in the majority and who is not, and then what do we do from that time on. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Okay, thank you for having me. And by the way, my last name is not Dramani, it's Draman.
Draman.
I think Citi has always gotten it wrong.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that correction. We apologize. Dr. Rashid Draman, the Executive Director for the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. We've been speaking to him, and he's been giving us some pretty good insight on the situation in Parliament, the way it looks at the moment as far as the figures are concerned, and where do we go from here. But Salom, I don't know, has joined us on the set this morning, and we're going to delve into some more conversations as far as the elections have gone so far. And Son, good morning.
Hi, morning, Kweku.
How are you doing?
Very good. It's been a tiring last few days, but we thank God we are good.
Yeah. What are your feelings about the situation as it stands? The president came out to give his victory speech. Later in the evening, Haruna Idrisu gave his version of events and their position as a party, what it is that they are rejecting everything. They don't accept the presidential, they don't accept the parliamentary situation, and they say they will take necessary steps to rectify what they see as a violation of our democracy.
Yes, very interesting turn of events. We thought matters were concluded yesterday, only to hear deep in the night that the NDC has problems with the process, and they made a number of points, and they promised that candidate Mahama or ex-president Mahama will in the next few days come out with concrete reasons why they are rejecting the results. It's, of course, the Constitution contemplates a situation like that. The Constitution did not contemplate a situation where every election results will be accepted by everybody. And fortunately, we have a precedent here in Ghana where in 2012, when then candidate Nana Akufo-Addo wasn't happy with the outcome of the elections, he did what he had to do by taking advantage of the constitutional provisions to seek redress in court. So the law is quite clear in Article 64, Article 64(1), that the validity of the election of the president may be challenged by a citizen of Ghana who may present a petition for the purpose to the Supreme Court within 21 days after the declaration of the result of the election, in respect of which the petition is present or is presented. Petition is presented. So the Constitution, drafted many years ago, contemplated a situation like this. So I think the good thing is that we have the institutions well and able to deal with it, the same way we saw it deal with the 2012 election petition, which was decided in August 2013. So I think what we have to do now is to ensure that this process is what will be resorted to rather than extrajudicial means, so that we don't have people getting onto the streets, causing chaos and everything. If the court, at the end of the day, decides that indeed Nana Akufo-Addo was not validly elected, the court knows what to do, and the court will make directions or orders as to what is to be done to ensure the right thing is done. And if the right thing being done means overturning the result, I mean, we are well and able, we are able to do that as a people, because we've demonstrated in the past that we have a high fidelity to the rule of law. And so for me, that is it. It is a constitutional right to be unhappy with the results, but that same constitution provides a means, and it's my hope that they will strictly adhere to the processes laid down by the constitution, so that we can have our peace even as we go about our daily activities. Yes.
Does it not concern you in any way that okay, fair enough, there's an issue of contestation of the parliamentary seats? We know that there are a few outstanding that are still being figured out and all that, but the presidential, it seems quite clear, not only from the EC, but every polling station has a number of people that are present, you know, and the data we got from our correspondents and people in places around, other media houses also have the same result. The results don't vary by much, you know. So if at all, they don't vary by much. So what extra could they possibly have that would overturn the presidential?
Well, I don't know too. I think that's why they said that in the next few days, John Mahama will come out to detail the process, to give us details of what it was. In 2012, too, I think a similar thing occurred. The same way votes are collated, reported on by media and other persons. We thought the process was the way we saw it until Nana Addo, Bawumia, and the late Jacob Ichebilamte went to court to challenge it. And we saw quite a few things that came up. I mean, and there were a lot of reforms that flowed from that process. So I don't know what they have. I don't know what they have. I don't know the weight or gravity of what they have. But let's see what happens. But for me, my emphasis is on the fact that let's use the process. Let's use the process. Let us not use extrajudicial means to make the point. Let's use the process. And that is what we have. You know, the process is being laid out. Let's use that process. Like I said again, the Constitution contemplates a situation like this. So I think it's well within their rights to say they reject it or they accept it. We would have wished that everybody would come on board and accept it. They made some points about how the persons at the strong room were sent to deliver a message to John Mahama, and in his absence, the election results were declared. I don't know all that. Maybe the Electoral Commission may have to come out to address those particular things or specific allegations. For now, they just remain allegations, and I don't know how much of a difference the votes they think they were denied of would make in the final outcome of the results. I don't know. The court will have to determine that based on the evidence or the weight of the evidence they present. So without going into the merits of their case, because I don't even know the merits, we will have to wait patiently and see what they have. Maybe after going through the things once again, and maybe the emotions falling off, etc., they may decide, no, let it go, let's work towards 2024 or something. Or maybe they will want to give the public a reason to believe why they are saying so. So maybe one or two things may come out. I'm not sure it's ever been a perfect election anywhere in the world. I'm sure a few things will come up, but I don't know what they have up their sleeve. So we can only wait to see what comes up. But I mean, like I said, I really wished we had this, cleared up so we can move forward together. But of course, you can't deny them their rights as well, so that's fine. But my bigger concern really is with what is happening in Parliament.
And even before we get to Parliament, Salom, let's look at the presidential results that we got. In 2016, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, on behalf of the NPP, got 53.4%. NDC, John Dramani Mahama, 44.4%. So the gap was just about 10% when you look at 53.4 and 44.4. But now the numbers that we have for Nana Addo Akufo-Addo is 51.3% and John Dramani Mahama 47.4%. What do you make of how close they came together before we even go to the Parliament?
Well, it simply means that the goodwill that Nanado went into the 2016 election with was not the same size, or was not the same, or was not the same. I mean, that goodwill has been chipped off a bit, and a number of things are accountable for that. If you are in government, you step on toes, you do things people don't like. When you're in opposition, you are attacking, you are presenting policy alternatives. They may look very good, people may believe you, and also based on what the sitting government at the time the sitting government you're trying to unseat is doing, you look very nice and you look very popular. But once you get into the seat, you begin to get confronted with the realities of governance. There are hard decisions you have to take. There are priorities you have to draw. Some people may find themselves down the pecking order. They may not be happy. They may think you've prioritized others over them. You look at the resource envelope, it's not as big to deal with everything at the same time. So quite a number of things. So you are not always in the good books of everybody. And nobody has said leaders always have to make people happy. Sometimes you have to make people unhappy because of the bigger picture. But not everybody's happy with that. So that goodwill certainly will be chipped off. So that's what we have seen. And especially in the last few weeks to the election, quite a number of things also came up. And so those things, were bound to result in a narrowing of the difference. I think the NPP won the election in 2016 with almost 1 million votes. But now we've seen that half of that is gone. And it could also be that the opposition also has campaigned very well. Maybe they've compared the two people in office. They said, okay, maybe this guy is not as bad as he was made to appear, or maybe this guy could have done this better. A lot of things go on in people's minds. People may even think that, no, everybody does 8 years. Let's give Nado also the opportunity to do 8 years, after which we can properly assess him and his party. So a lot of things. But certainly, what is clear is that the goodwill was not the same going into 2020.
Now, on to Parliament. Walk us through the current structure of Parliament. What happens when a specific party is in the majority, and how it will look like for us now if the party that's not in the executive ends up being majority in Parliament?
Well, it's an interesting thing. I'm not sure the situation you are painting, we've ever had it in Ghana. We have not.
Okay.
People think we had it in 1979. We didn't have it in 1979. Okay. In 1979, Liman still had a majority. There were 140 seats in that parliament. Okay. Liman had 71. Okay. So 71 is a majority. And there was an independent candidate in there as well. So minus the independent candidates, you had 139 seats. So plus independent, you had 140. Okay. So Liman had a majority.
So what you're saying is we always have majority
yes.
in Parliament who's also controlling the executive.
But the majority in Liman's time was very slim. Just one difference,
And the independents would also have played an important role, because now if it goes on one side,
we are not sure when
we still don't have the four.
We don't know where the independents stood. But from what happened, it appeared like we have an executive system, for example. Ministers will be appointed from the same group. Ministers will have to travel around doing things, executing the jobs delegated to them by the president, etc. All ministers are not always in Parliament every day, unless on critical occasions, even on occasions like budget reading or State of the Nation address. You can hardly have the full complement of the majority side, which as ministers. The minister may have traveled out of the country on the business of the state. So you can't have them in Ghana. So if you have maybe like we have now 135, minority, someone may say they don't really have anything else doing apart from being in Parliament, on the national level. The majority may have executive issues to deal with, and they may have legislative issues to deal with. So they'll be busier. Yeah. And so that may take a toll on a few things, unless of course we will have to, delay critical decisions until almost everybody is around before that decision is taken. But what that will do is that it will slow down the running or the governance of the state, because you need Parliament to approve things for you to do. So like we saw in Liman's case, his budget was thrown out. And which government wants his budget to be thrown out? That's quite a lot. It means you have to go look at it, come back, and now make a lot of concessions, ensure that what the other side is saying, you take a lot of it into consideration, etc. There's a good side to it. It will make you more engaging and more consultative. I think that's what the Ghanaian people have said they want with this election results. And the president alluded to that yesterday, that it appears the Ghanaian people, of course, clearly want parliamentarians, NDC and NPP to work together. We've always said the country is divided, and the election results, the parliamentary results shows divided right in the middle. Maybe the message is that let's work together, because if we work together, we can achieve a lot. What that also means is that the rubber stampness of parliament, what people have described as parliament being a rubber stamp, would have to change. I'm thinking we may have a more effective parliament, a parliament that will be more alive to its job, scrutinizing the executive properly. You know, we'll see a lot of that. But what that will also bring is, it will bring a bit of distraction to the work of the executive. You know, you have to think a lot about things before you bring them. But again, engagement and consultation is actually the way to go.
Yeah, but I mean, thinking about things a lot before you bring them, that's the job of Parliament.
Yes, that's the job. So that's what I'm talking about, the rubber stampness, let's say a phrase like that, of Parliament. So a lot of the people in Parliament, we've seen that sometimes when bills and things are brought, agreements are brought, you don't even understand the agreement. But because it was brought by their side, they are whipped in line to vote for it. Now, we may not have a lot of that, because you may not even have the numbers every time to push some of these things through. So in the past, we've seen minority raising their voices, and if things get to a head, they walk out and that kind of thing. Now, I'm not sure whichever party the minority will be walking out, because the numbers are even. So what will be happening is that, I mean, you have to play ball. You have to be alive to your work as majority and as minority. If you are bringing an agreement to Parliament, you must ensure the agreement is good, it's in the national interest, it ticks a lot of boxes, and you have to consult broadly, because if you don't do that, you will have a lot of issues in the House. You really have a lot of issues in the House. A number of things may happen. So now we don't know, we're at 135, and one in the middle. So now we don't know who gets the majority, who gets the minority, but there are two scenarios which may play out. NDC may get a majority, NPP, though in the executive, may get a minority, and vice versa. So let's take the one after the other. If NDC gets the majority, then we're going to have a situation where the opposition party has majority in Parliament. It's never happened in Ghana. It's happened in some other jurisdictions. But that will mean that the Speaker will most likely come from the NDC side, because the Constitution, on the part that talks about that talks about the election of the Speaker, talks about it in terms of the members of Parliament electing the Speaker. It says in 95(1) that there shall be a Speaker of Parliament who shall be elected by the members of Parliament from amongst persons who are members of Parliament or who are qualified to be elected as members of Parliament. So two things here. A Speaker of Parliament may come from amongst Parliament, like we saw with Duajahu, or he may come from outside Parliament, like we've seen in all other cases, apart from the Duajahu incident or instance. But that person must be qualified. So the qualification, I'm not sure, is an issue. So it doesn't say the majority shall necessarily choose. It's a members of Parliament. So once you are in Parliament, you are representatives of the people. You are supposed to be working together anyway. So members of Parliament will choose. Once you choose the Speaker becomes the Speaker. He becomes the third most powerful or important person in the country. He assumes the presidency when President and Vice are not around. So that's a very important position. After that, the Constitution says you choose 2 deputies. So there shall be 2 deputy Speakers of Parliament. That's 96(1). A, who shall be elected by the members of Parliament from among members of Parliament. This one, you have to be a member of Parliament. 2, both of whom shall not be members of the same political party. Both of them shall not be members of the same political party. That is why if you look back, you realize that at every point in time, we've had the first deputy speaker being from a different party, second deputy speaker being from a different party. So as we have it in this current parliament, Joe Wise, or Joe Ose, who's the first deputy speaker of parliament from the NPP, and then Alban Babin from the NDC being the second deputy speaker. In the previous parliament, we had Barton Odro of the NDC being the first deputy speaker of parliament, and then we had the Eskado Ketan MP, Joe Gatti, being the second deputy speaker of parliament. These are from different parties. When you even go back I mean, so it's always been like that. There was an interesting incident that happened in 2005, where maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but
No, go ahead.
where the two parties both presented persons for election as speaker. Prior to that, in 1993 to 2001, D.F. Annan was the speaker, the only person in our fourth Republican era, indeed, in the history of Ghana, who has served 2 terms as speaker. So I think in Alajite's mind, he was also going to do the same. But after the first term, he had word that he was going to be replaced, and indeed he was replaced by Bergina Sechi Hughes. So what happened was he found a way of getting the minority or the NDC side to back him. I mean, the old boyism, etc. Dua Jaho played a key role in that. Dua Jaho and Peter Alajite are old boys of Accra and things, so they have some relation, they were close. So he got to Dua Jaho, told him this was what these people wanted to do, and that he needed help because he thought he had helped the party, blah, blah, blah. So he needed help. He wanted to remain as speaker. So if they could help. The NDC didn't have majority. Their numbers were way lower than what the MPP had, but they still gave it a try. Babin and Co. in later conversations said no, they had nothing to lose really. And what's the name? Obeda Samoa and Co. Do you know what they were doing in Parliament? So wow, what are you guys doing? He said no, we have nothing to lose really. We have nothing to lose. The worst is that they will win, which they could because they have the numbers. But I'm sure they were able to do that because they had also picked up information from the other side that a lot of people still wanted Alajite to be the speaker. So they were depending on their numbers together with the numbers they may make from the majority. But they deployed a 3-line whip where, in fact, people were asked to show their votes to their colleagues. Wow. They voted, yeah. So that made it a bit difficult. And even there's the talk that Teresa Tego was the only person who voted for Alajite in that sense. And she didn't have things easy moving forward. I mean, there's that conversation. And indeed, what Alajite also did to rally support was he met the Greater Accra caucus of the MPP in Parliament and told them what was going to happen and asked them to support him. But that support didn't come because maybe of how the 3-line whip was.
So it looks like we'll be experiencing a lot of these negotiations.
So what I'm saying is that
in this
system, we are likely to have
some of these.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are closer.
Yeah.
So if when the numbers were not close, they could present their own candidate, NDC, the standing loyalty, the majority shall present, and the members will vote upon that.
We'll go for a quick break and then I'll let you continue. This is still the Election Bureau. We do want to hear from you. So wherever you are, please use the hashtag the Election Bureau. Use the hashtag GHElections and our WhatsApp line 0550-585832 for us to hear from you. And if you're outside Ghana, our country code is +233. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
It's a good day to meet every challenge. It's a good day to want more out of life. It's a good day to wish for it, work for it, go get it. Familiar taste, a delicious indulgent with a flavor you just can't hide. Refreshing energy gives so much for so little. For a strong performance, you've come to the right place. Good Day Energy Drink. Why wait a minute to enjoy a good day when every second counts? Good Day Energy Drink keeps you going.
Excessive drinking can be detrimental to your health. Not recommended for persons under 18 years, lactating mothers, pregnant women, and people sensitive to caffeine. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
At McDan Shipping, we saw a chance to invest in a logistics company whose technology streamlines shipping operations. Perspectives like this has made McDan the leading cargo consolidation manager. Clearing and forwarding come with speed and dependability. Cargo handling, air freight, transporting, transits, warehousing, and bulk logistics. With branches in Africa, Asia, Europe, USA, and all over the world. McDan Shipping, your total logistics partner.
Comprehensive news. The Citi Newsroom at 8 p.m. on Citi TV is your most engaging news bulletin on TV.
It's a very oh, that's too bad. The youth are still throwing stones. They are still throwing stones here into our direction. And can I come in? I want to come in. Okay.
Telling your stories better with correspondents covering every corner of the country.
Getting access to potable water is a daily struggle for residents of Kakichekopi and Balekopi communities in the Ada East district of the Greater Accra region.
Citi Newsroom at 8 p.m. Very fluent with issues that concern you.
This is quite a cover on Mr. Rabbi. Someone is in a bread. Told you kind of man. It's 1 week. What do you say?
Is it unfair? What all this? What all this? We are dying. We are dying. We are dying for Choco.
With Citi Newsroom, your community is now connected.
In this our community, all of us we are very sorry about this school. If we went and see the children, they are so small. Even my grandchildren are there. My grands outside there. If they come out from the school, I have to be easy.
Every day at 8 p.m., Citi Newsroom is live on Citi TV.
Welcome back. This is the Election Bureau. Thank you so much for staying with us. Yesterday, we found out from the EC that the NPP, led by Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, won the 2020 presidential race. They obtained 6,730,587 votes. That's 51.30%. And the NDC came in second place, led by John Dramani Mahama. They got 6,213,182 votes. And of course, in percentages, that's 47.4%. We'll be giving you updates on what's happening across the various regions in the country. And of course, it's an interactive show. So wherever you're watching us from, we do want to hear from you. Please use the hashtag The Election Bureau, the hashtag GH Elections, and of course, our WhatsApp line 0550585832 for us to hear from you. If you're outside Ghana, please use the country code +233. Our colleague, Michael Chachu Ahonu, is on the line. He is in the Bono East region. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Gita.
How are you?
Well, I'm shaking, but I'm doing well.
Good. Thank you so much for being with us. What is going on where you are?
Well, I'm currently in the Fisherman South constituency, and as was reported nationwide, due to shootings from the security agencies and a lot of election-related violence, the constituency is very calm but tense. A lot of people are indoors. People are not on the streets as used to be. The constituency is a shadow of itself, I should say.
How are the people there feeling?
Well, yesterday I was in town in a vehicle and I interacted with a gentleman, an inhabitant here, and they are very sad because they feel that the results which were declared yesterday were not the true reflection of the constituency.
Michael, are you there?
I'm here, sir.
Go ahead.
So, what's the Fisherman South constituency? We don't have, as of now, a specified result for the parliamentary election. If you followed the issues yesterday, the EC, the Fisherman South Electoral Commission declared results which are yet to be specified. They declared the new patriotic party's parliamentary candidate, Martin Mensa Porter, as winner for the parliamentary seat with a vote of, let me get that, with a vote of, I'm coming, let me pull that up before I put that out.
That's fine, but we also know that even the presidential elections results are without the Techiman South constituency. So it's a constituency that we're all paying close attention to what's going on there as far as the numbers are concerned. So as you're pulling that up for us, we are going to also update our viewers again on the numbers that we have without, again, the Techiman South constituency. So the NPP obtained 6,730,587. That's 51.3%. The NDC obtained 6,213,182. That's 47.4%. And again, these numbers are without the Techiman South constituency. So everyone is wondering exactly what's going on there. Michael, do you have the numbers for us now?
Yes. So for the NPP parliamentary candidate, the EC declared that he got 49,600 votes. And for the NDC candidate, Christopher Bassang, he got 49,205 votes. That's almost a difference of 500 votes. Of course, this result has not been certified. We have the NDC strongly contending this result. They say that EC here, they allege this and the NPP is trying to win the election. Well, what I observed on the day of collation from Monday evening all the way till Tuesday, the Fisherman South EC, they did not follow the normal processes where the EC would announce the polling station figures, then both parties would compare the figures on their dictating sheet, and they move on from there. They collate from the first polling station all the way to the last, and the results are collated and are announced. The EC here, the Fisherman South EC, they not follow this normal process. And the NDC raised serious issues in regards to this as to why the EC was not doing this, and for which reason they were alleging that the EC was in bed with the NPP. Also, there were issues of pink sheets being missing from some polling stations, and this, the NDC is strongly holding that it's an application of the NPP. These are all allegations. We are yet to substantiate or to even verify these claims. But basically, within the constituency, the NDC feels cheated. They feel the EC has not done a thorough and a responsible job. They are seriously taking this issue on. They are saying that there's no way that they shall allow these results to stand. So before that's the issue with the Fisherman South constituency.
Yes, Michael, what about the Senate West? We have issues there too. What's going on?
Okay, so with the Senate West constituency, unfortunately we have found the presidential results being added and collated. But the issue with the parliamentary results is in contention by the NPP. What happened was that at the Tacho A polling station, a ballot box was snatched. Fortunately, the state agencies were able to intercept and to retrieve this ballot box. But when they did that and brought it back to the polling station, the seals were broken. So the NPP within that constituency, they are raising issues and they are saying that it's possible that the ballot box has been tampered with and even new sheets have been introduced in there to favor their opponents. The NDC also is also raising issues. They are also raising similar claims. So just because of one single polling station, which is the Tasso A polling station, the parliamentary results are still being withheld. The NDC are getting secure the court injunction to stop the counting of the Tasso A parliamentary election. So that's the situation with us in the West. Because of this issue, we have still not seen any headway in terms of the declaration of the parliamentary results there.
Now, at the national level, the NDC has made their statement and say that they completely reject both the results of the presidential and the parliamentary. What is the feeling among NDC people locally in Techiman South and Senate West?
Okay, so for Senate West is traditionally an NDC stronghold. NDC has won within that constituency severally. For the Techiman South constituency, this is a swing constituency. And for this constituency, it has 32 electoral areas. 27 of these have settlers inhabiting it, and being the majority even within the constituency. And from the record, we have always been seeing settlers voting massively for the NDC. So it was no surprise yesterday when the national results were declared, declaring the president-elect, Nana Akufo-Addo, as president. There was no celebration from where I was in Techiman South. There was total silence. And that is a reflection of how the scene and the situation, the atmosphere here is in the Techiman South constituency. You can also attribute it to the shooting incident that happened at the Municipal Collation Center. Everyone here is in shock. People are seriously contending the results. They are even in a way not accepting the national results. But this is just a local issue where NDC stronghold, they are contending the national results. But the local issue here in the Techiman South constituency is the NDC feels cheated. They want the right things to be done. They want the EC to take a second look at the entire collation process within the Techiman South constituency. And even information recently indicates that the National EC is sending in some reps into the constituency to reevaluate and to investigate the whole situation. So we are keenly observing, we are keenly watching the situation here. As to whatever happens, we'll report as to when that happens.
Okay, Michael, what's the security presence like in Senate West and Techiman South?
Well, for Senate West, I can't say much, but for Techiman South constituency, there's heavy military and police presence. There's a tank which has been stationed at the regional and the municipal collation center. Several military personnel there, the police service, they have their special squad also present. There's serious security presence here, Eva.
All right, thank you very much, Michael. We'll be back in touch with you again as the day wears on to get some updates from Techiman West, Techiman South and Senate West. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Salam. So Michael updated us on a lot of things. Let's start with Senate West, the last place that we spoke about with him. He says it's an NDC stronghold. There's an issue of someone snatching a ballot box. They got the ballot box back. NDC now saying it's been tampered with because the seal was broken. What do you make of all of this? And now we may not even be able to count the results from there.
Well, it's unfortunate again, and we must place that on record. I thought we were done with the issues of ballot box snatching, etc. But fortunately, they were arrested and brought in. I hope the police is dealing with this matter well to punish, prosecute the people so the law takes its course. But a number of things. So the ballot, they think the ballot box has been tampered with. But if you look at the election petition case, there is a way that was generally, should I say, prescribed, but not really prescribed. But there was a way that was laid down for some of these matters to be resolved. So first of all, you can look at the ballot papers. You can look at the serial numbers on the ballot papers. Because if you look at the statement of poll for the office of Member of Parliament, for example, that is a Form 8A. You see something like range of 100 booklets, range of 50 booklets, range of 25 booklets, range of 10 booklets. The range there means the serial numbers. So when you look at, so they have to be tearing the papers, and they are tearing them from a booklet. If one is not done, they don't go to the next. So if the paper, if they look into the box and they are minded to get down and do the work, they can look at them and see if the serial numbers follow each other and see what the differences are, if there are gaps, and see that that's one. The second thing you can also do is to check from the BVD, the biometric verification, and see the exact number of people who had been verified to vote. That is, number of people who have, if you like, voted already, and compare that to the number of ballot papers in the box. If the same number of people who came to vote are the same number of people in the ballot box, and the serial numberings are the same, there is no gap, then really you don't have an issue. You can also check to see if indeed there are the number of papers in the box is more than the number of papers given out. That clearly will be a case of overvoting or foreign materials in the box. But the two processes or methods of using the serial number combined with checking from the BVD, I think should generally settle this. If you do these and there are discrepancies, and you look at the polling station and the number of votes that polling station has, as in the registered number of voters, you add that to one candidate, and that will be enough to materially change the color or the outcome of the election in that constituency. Then it would be fair to say that the election should be rerun in that polling station. So I don't think it's something we should be killing ourselves over. The process is clear. Check from the serial numbering, check from the BVD, and check from the number of papers in the box. And so if there are discrepancies, and the discrepancies will be enough to change the outcome, given the results from all the other polling stations, then the reasonable thing to do will be to run the election again in just that polling station. So I think, fortunately, he said the EC's dispatched some officers from Accra to go there and see to it. I'm sure by close of week or early next week, we should have a resolution to that, so it reduces the tension we have in the country.
Okay, thank you. We have a colleague, Dana Ngon, on the line, and we're going to talk to her about Savelugu. So what's the situation with Savelugu? Dana, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well this morning.
All right. So what can you tell us about the situation in Savelugu?
The Savelugu situation still remains like that. There's no progress because the two parties have failed to come to a conclusion, because the NPP intends to send the results to court for the final verdict. And the issue here has to do with overvoting, which they claim occurred in one of the polling stations. And the polling station per the previous election has been a stronghold for the NDC. And what happened before this whole controversy is the fact that an EC official who is not a registered voter there at that polling station cast his vote for presidential. When after he cast the vote, he was found and stopped from casting that for the parliamentary. So after this incident, there was misunderstanding and argument, so they had to bring the ballot box to the police station for counting. When they counted the presidential, the extra ballot was found, and they put that aside. But for the parliamentary, at the police station, we didn't see any issue of overvoting there for the parliamentary. And the two parties endorsed as results from the polling station they had issue with. But with the final result, that is the consistency result, the NPP has refused to sign the pink sheet because they still maintain that there has been overvoting in that polling station, which they need it to be addressed. They are even calling for everyone, nullifying everyone of the election in that particular polling station. And as it stands, the NPP says they will not sign the pink sheet, but the NDC, they have signed the pink sheet, leaving that for the NPP. So for now, the Electoral Commission is unable to clear the parliamentary seat who has won for the Sabulugu constituency because of these issues emerging from that constituency.
Now, Diana, considering that, I mean, you mentioned earlier that that seat was traditionally for the NDC. Considering that, why does the NPP feel so strongly about it?
That is the question everybody is asking, because traditionally it has been for the NDC, and the NPP smashed it during last elections because there was an internal issue in the NDC camp. One of their members went independent, and that has been splitting their votes. And this time now, the NDC, they've made some gains, and the margin for this year's parliamentary, let me give you the results for,
yes, please.
The provisional result because they have not agreed to certify the results.
Yeah.
So for the NPP here, with a pink sheet that is available now, the NPP has, just a minute, yes, that they have 19,000. Sorry, let me just get that.
So, Diana, as you are working on that, getting us the numbers, what are the people there saying? I mean, we get it that the NPP has concerns about possibility of overvoting, but the people there, what did they see happen?
The people, you mean their constituents?
Yes, the constituents.
Yes, I mean, the constituents will follow what their executives are saying. So if the executives are saying that there's overvoting, obviously the supporters of the NPP hold on to that, the fact that there's overvoting. If NDC is saying there's no overvoting, the state supporters are supporting the fact that there's no overvoting, so there's division between the two parties here. I have the results here now. Let me see.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so for the NPP candidate, that's Mohamed Abdul Samed Gulu, who is the incumbent. He has 19,478.
Okay.
And the NDC candidate, Abdullah Jacob Idris, he had 19,577.
Wow. Okay, so that's very close, less than
That's
100.
very close, yes. And so the NPP
Just a little over 100, actually.
If it's
99.
rerun, they are sure of, winning that seat.
Yeah. So Diana, right this morning on the ground, what's the feeling? What's the security situation more like? Does it feel tense? Does it feel like people are, gearing up to become boisterous and settled? What's going on there?
So yesterday, while we were at the EC office, the supporters of the NDC marched up there asking for the declaration of the results, and the security had to come in. They were there until the presidential result was declared. Then they left. In the evening, we saw some jubilation and sound. And in the Sabulugu constituency, last night, everything was calm. There was no jubilation there. There was no noise like people riding motorbikes and jubilating. There was nothing like that. The place was quiet, the security presence, even within the Tamale Metropolis, the security patrolling down to ensure that no violence occurred.
All right. So I think we will definitely want to hear back from you. What are they saying as far as the next steps are concerned? What do you know about it?
For the NPP, what they intend to do is to go to court. But they are yet to communicate when they will take that action. And the NDC says, well, they wait for them to file the case and they go and defend it. And that is it.
All right. Thank you very much, Diana, for speaking to us. Diana Ingon, the correspondent in Savelugu.
Salom,
Yeah.
so Diana talked about a lot of things. Issues with overvoting from the perspective of the NPP, leading them to refuse to sign the pink sheet. But the numbers are so close. NPP got 19,478, NDC 19,577, and of course this is for parliamentary. What do you make of this?
Well, it's interesting. The numbers are very close, so that clearly means that one polling station could determine the result. So when you look at the total number of votes in that polling station, it could materially change the outcome of the results as we know it now. No, I think the result she gave us is inclusive of that particular polling station. So when you take that one out, I'm not sure what the result will be, but I'm sure the MPP is objecting because when you take that polling station out, maybe it makes them look good. When you take that one out, maybe it makes them look good. We will have to test that in court. But if I heard her right, I thought she said the person who did the overvoting, I mean the EC officer, voted in the presidential and could not get to the parliamentary. But yesterday, Jean Mensah only mentioned Techiman South as the one not added to the national tally. So if even at that level, presidential has been added to the national tally, I'm wondering why the lady was not, gentleman only, I don't know who the electoral officer was, could not vote in the parliamentary, from what Diana is telling us. So if you could not vote in the parliamentary, and they've done their checks as are laid out prior, checking the BVD, the serial numbers, etc., and it's consistent with what it should be, I don't see where the difficulty is. I think that is how come the MPP from the highest places have said they should sign the pink sheet and see what can be done in court. I think that's the way to go. If you have difficulties, you go to court and you get it resolved. So this is quite interesting because I think so far, and she said they found that one vote which came extra because the person even did not register in that polling station. But I wonder how the system actually works, because if the person is your official, I'm sure the person should have voted in the special voting. And so that person's name will not be on that. The person's name should be on a separate one. And I'm not sure the person could vote there. But I don't know how it went. Maybe because the person is an electoral officer working there, they just store the paper for him or her to vote. I don't know. But that should not be. The electoral officer should know better. And I hope the person has been picked up to be punished. So you can isolate the paper, but maybe you cannot tell who the person voted for. Or if it may be, because it's even possible, because the person couldn't vote in the parliamentary, which meant that it was seen quickly. So you can just tell them, no, I just store this paper for you to go and vote. So this is your serial number. Even if you put it in the box already, this is the serial number. I just store it for you. Nobody has come after you. So let's quickly go into the box. Let's dig it up and find it. That's why she says that they found that paper. So let's just annul that and then move on. But I don't know what else is happening on the ground. I think it's all happening because it's very tight. It's very tight up there in the parliamentary. And you see, a lot of things will hinge on the parliamentary numbers. Like I was stating earlier, so if NDC has majority, they get to choose, they get to submit or present somebody to be chosen for speaker. MPP could do same, but since a game of numbers, even one or two, that will happen. So the NDC then gets their speaker of choice. Now, after that, first deputy speaker of parliament, the same process will be used, but that will be from the parliament. So first deputy speaker, most likely, if the NDC has majority, could be NDC. Second deputy speaker could be anybody, could be MPP, could be independent, could be anybody.
Okay.
In fact, it could even they could even promise the independent candidate that if you come with us, we'll give you even first deputy or maybe second deputy or something. MPP could tell him the same thing. It depends on what they agree on. So that will be cast in stone. You can't not just come and change the speaker because your numbers have changed.
Yeah.
And the role of the first deputy speaker of parliament so crucial. Chairman of the Committee of Privileges, very important committee. Also chairman of the Appointments Committee, also very, very important, because if you don't have this, the chairman of that committee and you bring people, there's a way they can influence things, and some of your appointees may, or your nominees may get thrown out. However, so that is cast in stone. That cannot be changed. The process of changing that is so difficult. You have to do so if you want to change the speaker, and you don't have the numbers. I think you need more than 2/3 majority, or even 3/4 majority to do that. You don't have the numbers, so the speaker is there, and all the people elected within the first deputy, second deputy, they're also there.
Okay.
However, the majority minority, if in the end maybe we go with 135, and the one in the middle to January 7, and we elect speaker everything, and the court resolves it, and maybe resolves it in favor of the other person, and so it changes the makeup of the house. So maybe the side which was majority before the speaker was elected becomes minority. They will have to move from the right side of the speaker to the left side because the majority is on the right side. Now, the majority leader will have to change because obviously you don't have majority.
Yeah.
So you have to change. The composition of the committees may have to change so that the chairpersons and the ranking people will swap places.
Yeah.
You know, but the interesting thing that will happen there is that in case that minority becomes the executive, it means that the majority leader, who we have always known to be the leader of government business, will have to change because you can't have an opposition member of parliament being leader of government business. That will happen. So maybe the minority leader in that sense will become leader of government business. That is very crucial because if you've seen how Osechi Mensah Bonsu is tried or even able to push through government plan and agenda, you can't have an opposition member doing that. He won't do it, you know, because it's not in his interest to do that.
Yes,
you know?
we do have one of our colleagues, Georgina Apia. She's in Upper Dentra West, and the reason why we are talking to our correspondents is because some of these constituencies are the constituencies that the NDC told us last night they had concerns about, and of course, even when we received the results for presidential, one was not added to it. Georgina, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Thank you so much for being with us. What is going on where you are?
Well, so at the moment, the electoral, or should I say the situation at the Upper Dentra West is in contention now, as because the NDC, after the collation was leading, and the returning officer was about to pronounce the winner, and the NPP side was also arguing that their serial number is different from that of the NDC and the Electoral Commission, and that they would not allow the EC to declare the winner. And in the process, the Transport Minister, Kweku Ofori Asiama, together with the Deputy Executive of the area, Asiedu Ajaman, stormed the center with some military personnel and stopped the process.
Wow.
So I actually followed up to the Regional Electoral Commission's office, and the Deputy Director of Elections told me, he is Kweku City. He told me that this morning they will be traveling to Upper Dentra West to look at or find out the situation themselves and see how best to resolve the problem. Well, you asked me, this is the situation at the moment, and we are yet to find out what comes out of the meeting.
How is the environment like? How are people feeling? What do you observe around you?
Well, it's just a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding between the two parties, two major parties, the NDC and the NPP. They are hoping to get the results, but it's halted now. So you can imagine, we are yet to find out.
Okay, and what's the security presence like there?
Oh, the security is around.
Okay,
so around since the election.
Walk us through the concerns of the NDC again, because last night We know that the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, mentioned this constituency as part of the 4 constituencies they have issues with. So what exactly are the NDC's concerns?
Well, for the NDC, the seat is yes now, but the NPP too is also concerned, or they are arguing that the serial number of their pink seats is different from that of the NDC and the Electoral Commission. So, that's already there. They have to, that's why the Deputy Electoral Commission Director in the Central Region is about to get to the place to find out what happens, what is happening, and bring about some solutions.
Okay, so the NDC does not have much concerns, but the MPP has an issue with the serial number, so that has halted the process.
Yes.
Do you have any provisional results for us as far as what the numbers are for these parties?
They didn't declare at all.
They didn't even declare at all?
Anything. Yes.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Georgina. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Salom, we are at Upper Dentra West.
It sounds like that might be another possible tight race there, too.
Well, we don't even have the provisional results.
No, we don't.
Yet, so we don't even know what's going on. But the serial number problem.
So the serial number of the ballot booklet or the ballot papers is different from the serial number of the pink sheets.
Okay.
So what happens is there's a pink sheet and there are duplicates or triplicates or whatever. So the original is what you obviously write on, and so there are other papers down there, the triplicates or the duplicates.
Okay.
Once you write on the original, it appears on the other one like we have in receipts. So the EC may keep the original and tear the duplicates or the multiplicates or whatever to the other and give them to the other people. So once it's the same thing you are filling, the same serial number and things should be on all of them.
Everyone should have the same
because
serial
they are
number.
duplicates.
Okay.
And duplicate means it's a
same
mirror
thing.
of the other one.
Original, yeah.
So when you have instances where you have different serial numbers, then it obviously raises issues. So what does the EC have? What does the EC have? And why does the EC one, why does it differ from what party A and party, why should it differ? It shouldn't, because it's like a receipt. If you go to an office and you pay some money, they write a receipt, maybe they give you the original one, but the office keeps the one in the booklet, so that tomorrow if there's an issue, you can go and they will show you the duplicate in their book. It should be the same. I don't know if you follow what I'm saying. Normally they put some paper under, some carbon paper, so it reflects on the other one. But I'm not sure there's carbon paper because that's how it's been designed. So once you write on the original, it appears on the other ones down there. Like when you go to the bank, you feel like you fill in the paying slip.
Okay, I'll allow you finish, but this still is the Election Bureau. It's an interactive show. We want to hear from you. Yesterday, we found out who will serve us for the next 4 years as president, and the president-elect is Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Of course, the minority has come out, well, the NDC, let me not use the word minority, the NDC has come out to say that they do not agree with that number. And they mentioned some 4 constituencies that they have some concerns with as far as Parliament is concerned. Those 4 constituencies are Techiman South, Sefirioso, Upper Dentra West, as well as Takwa in Swayem. So some of these 4 constituencies are what we are discussing. We've been getting updates from our correspondents there. But if you have any questions or contributions to the conversation, please let us know. The hashtag is Election Bureau. The other hashtag is GH Elections, and our WhatsApp line is 0550-585832. So if you're outside Ghana, please use the country code +233. Salom, please go ahead, continue.
Yeah, so this shouldn't be an issue. These are all basic issues. These are all basic issues. And I mean, when she was talking, because it's on the phone, I wasn't sure whether she was saying NDC or MPP.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure. So I'm just giving general. Because if you go to the bank,
yes,
and you fill in the paying slip, maybe you deposit, fill in the paying slip, and I mean, once you write on that paying slip, there are other duplicates or other papers, under or beneath it.
You keep one in the bank.
Yes,
keep one.
and it's the same thing, right? You take the original, the bank keeps the duplicate. What you have and what the bank has are the same, just that yours is original and theirs is a duplicate. So the serial number or the numbers and everything on yours should be the same as what the bank has. It's the same concept. So I don't see why the numbers should be different.
My understanding of what she was saying was that what the NPP has, as well as what the EC has, are the same, but the NDC has something different, and that's what they are contending.
Okay, so you see, so that again fuels a lot of suspicion. Because the NDC has always been suspicious, and they've said a lot of things about the EC and the Electoral Commission, blah blah blah. But we need to find out how come MDC has a duplicate that is of a different serial number than what the EC and what the other people have. Let's listen to the concerns. And let's also recollate. Let's recollate the numbers from the polling stations. If that will solve the problem, let's recollate the numbers. And it's just a simple addition. Then we'll solve this matter. So, I mean, these are basic issues. I don't see why we should be bickering so much over it.
Okay.
This issue should be solvable. Whoever wins, we move on.
Okay, now let's look at the constituency that is currently not added to the presidential elections results, Techiman South constituency. We heard from our correspondent there that there are issues about missing pink sheet. What do you make of that?
Again, these are basic issues. I don't know why should the pink sheet be missing. But the pink sheet, the other parties too should have duplicates. So where are the other duplicates?
So this shouldn't be a big enough problem that we should.
Maybe I don't see, because there's a reason why the law is clear that give them duplicates. The law says, each party must have duplicates, or you share it to the people. So if they all have duplicates,
then the one that's missing,
becomes
confirmed
immaterial. The others will confirm that, okay, if what I have is the same as what you have, and Koku's one is missing, you don't have it. You are missing. So if the two of us agree, then that's fine.
So the EC could have still gone on to calculate.
Yeah, but they are not agreeing. They are not agreeing. So that's the problem.
But and you don't think that's something the party should.
The law, no, but see, it depends on how material the numbers in that polling station. Because if, like in one case, 99 votes is a difference, and there are about 500 people in that polling station. If you add, I mean, the numbers there are huge. The numbers will be material to the outcome of the overall, who takes the seat. And who takes the seat becomes important, because it may change things in the National Assembly, in Parliament House. And you don't want to lose like that. That's why it's become contentious. The law says that after everything is done, declare the result at the polling station. What result was declared at the polling station that evening? Can't we have the radio station? Not going to have anybody there to give us. We can have a number of people who recorded it, so we see they are consistent. That may not be properly legal. But the law also says that post it at the place. When you finish, post one of the copies at the polling center where you declare the results. Was that done? I don't know. If that was done, it would have been easy to go back and check to see what the result is.
But what do we know about Techiman South? Because it seems as though from last night's presser, the NDC is very invested in that constituency.
So you see, the Techiman South is a swing constituency. And whether it's swing or not, I mean, once, it may not be swing, it may be swing, but once a party feels that they are winning, I mean, and it's getting funny, they will fight it. And they'll fight it more so because of the tightness of the race up there in the Parliament House. So that is the issue. I mean, and both sides want to claim it because they feel they have a right to it. Anybody who gets it gets ahead of the other, because we have 135, 135. So if I go to 136, it puts me a bit ahead. Now we hear MPPs been asked to sign for Sabulugu. That puts NDC ahead, and they get Techiman South. That means the 137, and that puts them ahead by 2 seats, and it becomes a bit difficult. I think that's all is happening. But in the end, I'm sure they should be able to find a way around it. I mean, we don't need this tension and people dying in those areas.
Exactly. Back to Parliament. You were discussing what Parliament will look like for us if we end up with NDC as majority and NPP in the executive.
Yeah, so if you have NDC in the majority, by the numbers, it means that the Speaker may come from the NDC's side. Deputy Speaker, second Deputy Speaker may have a lot of influence from the NDC, though the second Deputy Speaker must be from a different party or should not be of the same political party, so it could be independent. The other thing, so majority leader and all those things will be from the NDC. And minority will be the governing party, which means that they will rather be in the minority on a lot of the committees. And look at Finance Committee, for example. There's a loan agreement coming. Sometimes they push things through. Now you are not in the majority on that committee. The chair is from NDC. The vice is from the NDC. Ranking member will be from the governing party itself. That is difficult because you want to get things through, so you're able to see out your agenda for the country in the next 4 years. And Finance Committee is important, very important. So it makes it difficult, very, very difficult, and nobody really wants to be in that situation. But whatever happens, the message is clear. Members of Parliament must work together, which means that in the past, where we've had in other regimes and even now, when we have instances where because you have majority push things through,
without checking,
yes, that will not really happen. So, for example, if you had this situation, Ijapa will suffer to be passed. Ijapa may not be passed at all, and so whatever good intention that the government had with the Ijapa thing would have to be aborted, unless they are able to sit down with the people on the other side and agree on a few things. Let's say this thing is not good. Maybe the money you are taking for it is not good. The money should be higher, or do this at this time. Let's agree on something. Let's play ball. When that is done, that's good. So the bickering may stop. On the other side, if we decide not to consult, then the bickering will be so much, and government will suffer for it because opposition is opposition. In fact, they want to come back the next time.
But what effect would it have on our national development if opposition ends up majority and they decide to turn down every single thing from the executive just because they can?
Yes, I mean, things will be slow, obviously. Things will be slow. And we saw that in Obama's term. Obama had an interview recently with the BBC on his new book, The Promised Land. And he was talking about the fact that because of what some of the media people and other people did, they made government unpopular. And I mean, the House, they lost one of the houses, and that made things difficult. And once things are difficult, you are unable to live out your agenda or see through your agenda. It makes things slow. You are not able to do the things for the people you have promised because you have a difficulty there. And so that makes you more unpopular. And then the people get to vote you out. So it's like that. But the good thing we've seen in this election is that the Ghanaian voter is becoming sophisticated. The Ghanaian voter is now seeing through. I mean, and the skirt and blouse thing, I think is good for us. Now they will see you for what you are doing and decide to vote for you or not. So if you are in Parliament and you are just being destructive and disruptive, maybe next 4 years they will punish you. So that should be in our mind, and the numbers should make us work together as a people. That will bring the country together.
Now finally, the issue of appointing ministers from Parliament. We know that some of the ministers that people are saying performed well as ministers within the MPP lost their seat. Now this was with a parliament of 169 members of Parliament being from the NPP. Now we have a lesser number where we still don't have the results for the 4 other constituencies left, but we are at 135. If some of these MPs end up being appointed as ministers and the constituencies have such high expectations of them, what will happen as far as their ability to deliver?
So it's not a matter of even if, because it's clear in the Constitution that majority of MPs must come from Parliament. Sorry, ministers must come from Parliament. So that's what should happen, and that's what will happen. And you're talking about high expectations. There are ministers who have done well and have retained their seats. Deputy Minister Duchun done so well. He's retained his seats. Napo and Co, they've retained their seats. Of course, you can say they are from strongholds. There are some other ministers who have come from not so much of strongholds, but they've maintained their seats. I think it's a matter of, once you decide to go into Parliament, you must know, and your party is in the executive, and you are very good. It's possible you could become a minister. And so you need to plan yourself. There are directors, you have deputies, there are a lot of people in the ministry you work with. It's not everything you should do on your own. Work with people, raise the people, develop the people, let them be able to take charge of things, delegate things to them, and you be at the top and supervise. You don't have to be everywhere yourself. Of course, it's difficult, but that's what we have in our Constitution. Until we change it, that's where we will be.
But now that we have, 135, and you're saying majority of ministers have to come from Parliament, wouldn't it affect their job in Parliament if, using the assumption that the NDC ends up being the majority in Parliament? What would
affect their job? How? Like, as in, they always have to be present.
Be there
so that's the problem.
Duties
that is even the problem. That's why I talked about the Liman case. Liman had a majority with 1 at the top. So 140 parliament, seater parliament, he had 71, which meant that the other side had 69. But there was one independent. The other side means the other smaller party, PFP, UNC, etc. Put together had 69 plus 1 independent. So even though he was in a majority of 1, I mean, all of them could not be in Parliament even on crucial days like when the budget discussion or debate was ongoing for the budget to be approved. So the budget was thrown out. So that it is important to play ball. It is important, even if you have a majority of 1 or 2, it is still very slim, and you have to cooperate. And the president set a tone yesterday by saying that the outcome of the election clearly shows one thing, that the Ghanaian people want to see their MPs working together. They are tired of the bickering, the unnecessary debates, etc. And that point was re-echoed by Opon Kroma yesterday. So I think that is a new era, the new phase of our politics we should be getting to. I only hope that in the end, the citizenry will be the better for it, because now whoever is not in the executive will ensure that they scrutinize documents properly. So if you want to load us in the last few days before Parliament rises with a lot of bills and agreements, etc., we can say, no, we don't have the time to look at this. Why are we in a hurry? This is state money. Why are you in a hurry to pass this? Let's hold on to this. Let's come back and do it. If you want it, bring it early. We'll take time and scrutinize it. The country will be the better for it.
Okay, so Salam, before we round up, that actually answers a question that somebody had asked. You know, they wanted to understand how the budget was passed, but I think that makes sense. How effective in a hung parliament can the executive be? Are there options? Do they have options?
The executive must play ball.
Okay.
You know, I don't think. I mean, people may be unreasonable, but it's when you want to. The parliamentarians, they make us feel that they work together on almost a lot of the things. Very few times that you have the House, you know, sharply divided. So let's see what has worked for them in the many instances where they said they've worked together, and let's take a leaf or two from those books, and help us here. But what is important is you have to play. We have to consult. I mean, the U.S. they resorted to using executive instruments, etc. But I'm not sure we have a lot of that under our laws. You know, so you certainly have to play ball. If you don't do that, then you are not being effective. Your effectiveness will be in your ability to carry lobby and get the people on your side. That is what it is. And you see, if you are doing something and the people say this, for example, like look at the Japan, for example, it raised a lot of issues. Typically, that should make you want to sit and look at the issues, civil society, etc. Look at the issues well, and then come back. What are the guys in the minority saying? What is civil society saying? Let's see let's see how we can meet them halfway. And in that way, you settle, or you ease the tension in the country, and you have your way.
Thank you very much.
So
much. Adonu is the head of features here at Citi TV and Citi FM. Earlier, we were joined by Godfred Akoto-Boate, and he is the head of current affairs here at Citi FM and Citi TV. And of course, we also have Dr. Rashid Draman, who is the executive director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, joined us to really help us understand what's happening right now. Last night, we heard from the EC that the president-elect is Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. The NDC saying that they don't accept it, they are going to fight it. They mentioned some 4 constituencies that they had issues with. We've gone through those constituencies with our correspondents. Those constituencies were Techiman South, Sefiri also, Upper Daintree West, and Takwa and Swayam. And of course, this is the Election Bureau. Wherever you are watching us from, we do want to hear from you. So please use the hashtag the Election Bureau for us to hear from you. Also use the hashtag GH Elections, and our WhatsApp line 0550585832. My name is Jifa Eke Amatam, and I've been doing this with
David Kweku Sechi.
We're going to go for a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Keep watching Citi TV. So we'll thank you very much. We'll be back.